Mm. Hello. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Mm. That is a good question. Chat, me? I can hear you. Can chat hear you is the question.
Is
Can you
broken.
guys?
Please explain that.
No.
There we go. I just noticed on
Oh.
OBS my thing wasn't moving. None of the sound bars were moving. Okay, to shorten that, the final episode of this isn't spoilers. The final episode of this season, so the one in 2 weeks, is broadcast at 7 p.m. GMT. Actually, wait, it's BST. It's broadcast simultaneously around the world at the time it usually comes out. How do I change the time zone? BST? British summertime. Okay, cool. So it is daylight savings. Yeah, noon. Wait, no, 7. 11 a.m. Pacific. Good, you didn't hear the wrong report. It's 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can look it up, but it's going to be later than it was previously. In fact, isn't it a midnight release in America? I don't know. It's a few hours earlier. That's the deal. Also from chat, Caden's just looking at all the tabs. No, I prepped that thumbnail so good. No.
That is tragic.
There. Ah!
Oh. I mean,
sorry,
that one's not
chat, you can't see that. I've had the frame up for when I do this, and it took a while to get a good frame of Susan, and I accidentally closed the Disney Plus tab.
That is a tragedy.
That's a tragedy. Give me a moment. In the chat, someone asked if I had a. Yeah, fine. If I had the the Titan from Fan Home yet. I'm sorry, I've been real bad on getting up on those Starship reviews, but yes, I have. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th Titan model. It's a bit weird seeing it in proper gray now. I kind of prefer the Lower Decks one. I don't think it's the best Titan model that's ever been made. I didn't know it was the Titan as well. I forgot what ship it'd be, and I was a bit disappointed. I'm like, oh, another Titan. But it's all right. I'd probably get the Lower Decks one if you could. That's my quick review. Unless you really like the live action style. But Caden.
Yes.
You are probably going to need a bit of a history lesson before we properly get into this review. So the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo officially ended the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848.
Right. Yeah.
It was signed on the 2nd of February, 1848 in the town of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Presumably because America and Mexico were so young, we didn't actually have big cities, especially given that Guadalupe Hidalgo is now a neighborhood in Mexico City, the largest city in North America.
G or a J or a Guadalupe.
Okay. That's your.
I think I wrote that all down.
That's the history lesson. So, are we ready to begin?
Got it. Yeah.
Because I think chat's not gonna let me get by either of the mysterious old women. So we're just gonna open with those ones.
Right.
We're gonna start with this one because I prepped the frame for it. You
This
have
one I know a little
no
bit about.
idea. Oh, you do? All right. So give
No,
me
this is
let's
Susan,
get
right?
your perspective. Yes, this is Susan. It was fun with
There
both
we
my
go.
wife and I, because I think Alex recognized the voice. I was like, well, no, Alex was like, I kind of figured from the grandfather. But I'm like, that's Susan. That's Carol Ann Ford.
It's the actual Susan?
That's the actual Susan. Finally,
Actual,
he's learned his
nice.
lesson from missing out on the Brigadier, and he's actually went ahead and cast Susan, Carol Ann Ford, which, if you don't know, she looks high on drugs. Look, it's never flattering when you pause a frame on someone. She does look a little high on drugs. Woo, Susan! There you go. I don't know if you heard my wife there. They've been really looking forward to this. Susan is the original companion, one of the original Free, traveling with the Doctor before he left Gallifrey, because, of course, she is the Doctor's granddaughter. I'm used to grandfather. I'm not used to describing the relationship that way. So yeah, this was totally a shock. I don't know if this was leak. I would guess it wasn't because I didn't know about it, and I feel like this would have made its way to me, right? I know about the other thing that happened in this episode, but I'm amazed if this wasn't leaked. I like, it's in the TARDIS set. Unless she's in like other scenes in the next 2 episodes. So I wonder if maybe it's next season, if it's just in the TARDIS sets and it wasn't leaked, but we'll see. Yeah, that's the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan. He left her. Spoilers for First Doctor, if you really care, although you'll probably learn about it next week anyway. He left her on, here's an interesting tidbit I realized this morning, the planet Earth in the future, a setting which no longer exists. I wonder if that's going to be relevant. Basically, it was the Daleks invaded Earth. Don't worry about it. They succeeded, but then we defeated them. Don't worry about it. And then he left his daughter there with one shoe to live a life with this guy that she liked. Don't think about the age gap, and done. Just like that. One shoe. No, it's a very famous scene. It has some connotations nowadays. But we haven't really gotten any developments from Susan since then. Don't tell my wife this, but we've seen her one other time. But I think it doesn't really... yeah, no, it doesn't really. 60-year-old spoilers are crazy. Right, I don't think the year matters, you know? Here's a tangent. I remember there was in high school, there was like a firefighter or someone who came to talk about drugs or whatever. I don't know. It's some PSA thing, you know, where there was a little assembly. And in part of the analogy, he used a big finale spoiler thing from Breaking Bad. And yeah, Alex, you're listening to my stream, but don't tell my wife. Everyone was like, oh, what the heck? He's like, man, it's like a 15-year-old show at that point or whatever. Like, you've had time to watch it. I'm like, we're literally high schoolers. Like, some of us aren't at the age where we're allowed to watch Breaking Bad, and the ones that are, like, just gotten there. So, yeah, I mean, I just like to announce them. It's like, if you actually cared, you'd stop listening. But that's the Susan thing. So, I'm interested. I'm a little worried we're kind of seemingly going to do Susan in a Russell T Davies finale that aren't famous for being good. But I am excited. I'm glad we get to see Susan again. And I hope there's something good with them. I've mentioned, I think, on stream before, my way is I'd bring Susan back in like a 2 or 3-parter. And at the end of like the first part, she'd shock, regenerate, and then you'd get the new companion, right? I realize seeing Carol Ann Ford now, and I don't realize why I didn't clock this sooner, is that Carol Ann Ford is not look like a teenager anymore. And in my mind, she regenerates into like a young adult vaguely teenage-esque, so you can kind of do the original pitch for Susan right, which you could still do, but we don't think we've ever had someone regenerate into like an actual child. So I might just cast a young-looking, like 21-year-old. But no, I am interested to see. But I really don't think there's a whole lot to say at this moment in time because it just started.
Yeah.
It's worth noting Susan does have like particularly strong kind of psychic abilities. This was established before the Doctor was even an alien, let alone Time Lords have psychic abilities. So it's a little weird in retrospect, but I think we're going with that. She's probably using some sort of psychic connection thing because she has strong psychic abilities for a Time Lord. The first Oh, no, this isn't. I was going to say first Susan appearance where we know she's a Time Lord. But no. Susan was cute back in the day. Susan has an amazing timeless look. Very intentionally, but they definitely succeeded. But yeah, I know this face from the cover of Big Finish, so I recognize Susan. Ready for the other mysterious woman. Oh, I did it! See, I knew this one would be easier to get. That's why we started with Susan. Yes, after so many years, the Ronnie has finally defeated her arch nemesis, British copyright law, and is gracing our screens once again. Caden, as a newbie, what are your thoughts to what was probably an extremely underwhelming reveal?
I have so many feelings that I almost don't even want to get...
Have we talked about the Ronnie yet? Because I've been thinking about the Ronnie so long because I knew this was going to happen. But I don't actually know.
We did a good while ago.
Ages. Probably with, like, Susan Twist. Because the joke is that every mysterious woman has been the Ronnie for the past 25 years.
I don't know if I should save some of the opinions for the review portion, but overall...
Well, this is the Ronnie part. You can go into that.
Not great.
Just because, like, it's meaningless to you?
No, the Ronnie portion of it, the only part I was like, oh, whoa, it's Ronnie, is because we've talked about that before.
Okay. Cool.
But I think the way they did it, horrible. Execution, down the drain. It just demolished. Didn't like it. The first regeneration of the series, as a bi-generation, of which they made this mysterious character who we've been, known of this whole time. And then finally in this episode, when she begins to be an actual character, the Ronnie that is now a Ronnie, that's not going to be confusing. We just make her powerless, and now she's like cowardly in the background, and we have this new person. Rather than, I would have preferred if they just regenerated into the far cooler dressed Ronnie with the red overcoat. I don't know why they needed to bi-generate. I don't know why. That part, I didn't like it.
Hang on. That's, I think that's also all my notes. I think you may have graduated from filthy, disgusting casual. You might just be a bit, again, so well done. I agree. Let's get into the review a little bit later, but let's do the history lesson for the Ronnie. First off, Baylor writer, woo more Time Lords. I'll say, for what it's worth, these reveals do seem to have done wonders for the viewership of this live stream. The popular episodes are genuinely, more popular in the chat. And we've got 2 active people, not counting my wife, who's kind of a given.
Oh, yeah.
But it is interesting that we're getting so many Time Lords so soon after the redestruction of Gallifrey. Especially because Russell T Davies really doesn't like Gallifrey much. I'm not complaining. Like, I kind of want to establish some status quo with Gallifrey back and just stick to it, like, everyone else. But the Ronnie is, of course, a Time Lord from the 80s, 6th and 7th Doctor. She is in, I hope, 2 episodes. I don't think I'm forgetting one. Chat. And she's essentially the pitch. We probably have talked about this. I think I've voiced these opinions. So stop me if I have. But for what the Ronnie is like basically the immoral scientist. Well, the master goes about for like power for power's sake, and to rule and control, and also, quite frankly, just because he likes it. It's a passion. The Ronnie really only has the goal of advancing scientific knowledge by any means. So absolutely zero morals with how she gets there. She'll do horrible things, and she'll pursue power, but only in that it services her scientific goals. So, like, I think the first episode we meet her, she rules a planet for this sheer purpose that having a planet at your disposal is great for scientific research. She doesn't actually care about ruling it, and I don't think she even does. I don't even think she does much ruling. She just, like, takes what she wants, and other people do the day-to-day, which is it's a cool concept. And I Doctor Who doesn't really, I think, have a villain like that. Even in the one-offs, someone can probably throw an example out, but I can't really think of one. Lazarus? Maybe? He wasn't done well, but Lazarus, I guess. Not the best comparison. But I've said before, in practice, I didn't even realize that everything I just said was supposed to be a part of the character until it was pointed out to me. Because to me, the Ronnie always came off as like, what if the master was a woman? And so you kind of had, because she served the same role, you know, the Time Lord the Doctor fought against. And I was always like, man, I wish it was the master. Because it's sort of, you know, replacing the well-established beloved character. Yes, I like Anthony Ainley. And with sort of the new one, kind of like the Rey Skywalker-ification effect, but like from the 80s. So that was my take. Very hot take. But on the other hand, that kind of makes her ripe for a return. Because in my mind, she's a good concept that was just done bad. And even in Big Finish, I feel like it's never come up. I'm like, if you want the master, even then, I was like, if you want the master to be a woman, just make the master a woman. And then they did for Missy. And I'm like, see, it works. Like, you could have done that. Because, yeah. So I have a hot takes on the Ronnie. But hopefully she's good. However, I do basically, I think, agree with everything you've said regarding the bi-generation. Which, first off, have we been over bi-generation yet? Whoops.
A bit.
Unlike Nathan, I support both women's rights and women's wrong. You know what? I'm going to go out and say it. I don't support women's wrongs. I don't. If women do wrong, I think that's wrong. Hot take. Hang on, I'm getting the right frame. This scene goes on a while. So what have we said about bi-generation? If you want, okay. Yes. That's the fan base. God forbid a woman has hobbies being evil for science. My hotkeys have broken. There we go. So, by the way, this might get into some spoilery territory for the 60th, because that's just what the season does. But I don't think we're going to spoil anything that, like, the next episode has said. And Caden can't. So, Caden, what have we said about bi-generation?
Oh, man. I don't remember too much.
You know what, actually, if you don't want the history of bi-generation, just like, why are my hotkeys broken? Mute the screen until mute the stream until the thumbnail goes off stream. There we go. Caden, go on about history.
Well, in the 60th, in the spoiler territory, like we said, David Tennant, I think, bi-generated it also into Ncuti Gatwa.
Yes.
And then David Tennant went and got a bunch of therapy. And Ncuti Gatwa is now traveling the galaxy and having fun. And one of them doesn't have pants.
Yeah.
That's my whole memory.
That I'd like to point out, we're going to go back to the spoiler zone stream, but yes, they're both fully clothed, which, you know, the cowards, God forbid.
Yeah, honestly.
No, I mean, yeah. I feel like that I can't wait for the Gallifrey post of it's because the Ronnie has better control over regeneration than the Doctor. They can choose to have all their... Wait, no, they don't. Miss Flood was wearing that coat. Yeah. They did do it. Presumably, the Ronnie on the right is totally naked under the coat, because Miss Flood doesn't have shoes or a coat. I stand corrected. They did do
Well, maybe
the clothes split.
the Ronnie took the underwear from a Ronnie.
That's why the Ronnie is submissive. That's how it works. Whoever has the underwear
No underwear.
is
Literally
the main
wearing
one.
the pants.
Yeah, because entering the spoiler territory again, Shruti Gadwa was the one who had the underwear in the 60th, so that's just how it works.
I think so.
But yeah, no, so that was the first by generation, which you know what? Actually, I think we're done with spoilers. When by generation was established before, only once before it was, if anyone watching the stream doesn't actually know that, besides my wife, is any like it was established. They believed it was a myth, right?
Yeah.
Like this was such a rare occurrence. It was a myth. And now it's happened twice,
Just
like in a row. Yeah. Might I remind you that relatively recently there was what's known as the Last Great Time War, which had countless Time Lords regenerating like every day, and like including temporal nightmare loops. Not to mention the second destruction of Gallifrey, which actually just had people like die. The Doctor sounds like he's describing the first one in this episode. No, I think they just conquered Gallifrey. Like it was a normal. Yeah, I think generally the response, some people are like, I can accept it literally just because it's the Ronnie. And again, there could be ways we justify it in the finale. I'm not going to give points for it now, especially because it's a Davies finale. But I'm going to, there's a world. Because the Ronnie is into like scientific experimentation. One of the theories, which, as far as I'm aware, is not based on any leaks other than the Ronnie is Miss Flood, which we know now. Yeah. But I have seen theories where people don't mark as spoilers and base it around Miss Flood being the Ronnie, which itself is a spoiler. So it's possible that this is a leak that I don't know. So, hey, mute your screen if you don't want to take that risk. But one of my favorite theories, I've seen some people poke around, is that the space babies, were Time Lord experiments. The Ronnie was the one in charge, and she's trying to basically remake the race of Time Lords after it's been destroyed, and that the space babies were a failed experiment. So that's part of why we saw Captain Poppy. I think it makes sense. It's almost a little too neat for Russell T Davies, which is why I'm not sure. And it would require Davies to do stuff with Time Lords, which is always I don't know if he would. I mean, he did before, but heck, you got the Master. But in that context, it's kind of like maybe the Ronnie is trying to like forcing herself to bi-generate so that there's just more Time Lords, like there's now one more Time Lord.
Surprised right when it happened.
Oh, I think I don't think it works, and I think it's bad. Remember, Miss Flood didn't recognize the Doctor's TARDIS until it dematerialized, despite the fact that literally nowhere else would there be a London police box. I've also mean to go back and check what Miss Flood says to Cherry, when like everyone's about to die, because
yeah, I don't remember.
I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't. There could be a thing like she was in hiding and that memory triggered something. Like you can explain away Miss Flood's early appearances, particularly given these series are written back to back. I feel like you probably could have done it tighter if that's the case. But I guess that is a nitpick, you could say. But yeah, I also don't understand the point of the regeneration, because we've had Miss Flood, who could have just been the Ronnie, right? Yeah. And now, I feel like what it is the same thing last time Russell T Davies did by generation. To me, it feels like, could you imagine 2 Ronnies? How cool is that? How could you resist? And my response to the same as last time, easily.
Yeah, I think it's from a storytelling standpoint, it's so awful to have an established character and then throw that character away and just replace them with a new one.
And now, So the last time, you know what? I think I'm not going to be able to avoid it. I'm going to talk about the bi-generation from the 60th, only just who it happened to because you all probably know.
Mm.
When the Doctor bi-generated, they really put in the effort to go, like, David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa are both equally the Doctor. More so focused on, like, Ncuti Gatwa is the Doctor, because, you know, he's going against David Tennant. But, because, like, that's how it works. Yes.
Yeah.
At this moment in time, they're, like, the same person in every way. Eventually, they could grow into, like, different people. But that's the gist, right? And it's generally a very poorly explained concept with a lot of contradictory information. But in the now light of Miss Ronnie is now also just accepted as the lesser one, which is weird for something that was like a myth. I'd accept if this was prejudice or something that's established when it happens. Like, why is Miss Flood so subservient now? Mm-hmm. Is David Tennant somehow lesser of a doctor? Did he lose his doctor status? And if he did, what's the point of his therapy if he's not the Doctor anymore? It's just a weird...
It feels like the bad outcome of last episode's villain. Like, they broke him down, going from a strong character to a cowardly one. They did that so good. And here, they took the strong and mysterious Miss Flood to now this cowardly Ronnie hiding in the background. I don't like it.
It's going to be real interesting to hear Russell T Davies' commentary on this episode. And of course, it's Russell T Davies' commentary in the 2020s. He's going to sound insane. Because he that's just how it rolls nowadays. He's going to come out with something, how this is like in service of the Black Lives Matter, but in some way that makes it sound insane. Because that's what he does now. He makes like reasonable decisions and then says something in an interview and everyone's like, what? No. But yeah, I did notice that this Ronnie seems very much like the classic one. She's very cold, calculated. A lot of things that I like in a master, but... Is an aside, my wife and I are watching through classic Doctor Who, right? So they have all the Susan context, that's good. But we're like midway through the third Doctor. We're very much introduced to the Master now. And I've said before on the channel that I don't like Roger Delgado's Master. Take everything you've ever heard about people talking about Delgado and Ainley. I agree, except I think it makes Ainley better. But Roger Delgado, I've described, is... a man who's just, like, doing his job, right? He's good at his job, and, like, there's an element of enjoying it. But in the end of the day, this is a 9 to 5, and at the end he goes home and does what he actually wants. And watching the Third Doctor's era, I'm struck with how much I disagree with that statement, because Delgado is so bad at his job. So, the Master is really, really bad at what he does. Like, he falls into obvious alliances with Pete. It's like, oh, I'm allied with the Daleks again. I'm sure they won't betray me. You know, in the last episode we watched, The Legend of the Sea Devils, he's working with the titular Sea Devils to, like, take over the world. It's not really explained why. Don't worry about it, I guess. And... there's a bit where he's going to build a machine to wake up all the Sea Devils because they're sleeping. They're like in hibernation. And he shows the Doctor the plans because the Doctor's his prisoner at this part of the story. And without any asking or prompting from the Master whatsoever, the Doctor just starts telling him how like his machine's totally broken and then starts making plans to fix it. And the Master's like, all right, go ahead. And then he just lets the Master build it. The Doctor build it. I think he might even leave the room. It's like... he's gonna betray you. Like, did your plan rely on this? But also, the machine you built just literally wouldn't work. It was horribly broken. You're supposed to be the better student. Why are you so bad at your job, Delgado? Like, so I'm worried I might get that portrayal because it's just boring. You've got to enjoy what you do. Yeah. And Miss Flood would enjoy what you do. I don't think she's very Ronnie-like, mostly because we've seen her just being a mysterious woman. There's the bit in the well, her end credit scene where I'm like, yeah, no, I see it. That's the Ronnie. Because she's kind of like analyzing the Vindicator and be like, this way's... I just got Ronnie energy from her in that scene. But I feel like you need to enjoy what you do. This is why Jacoby is the best master. Is he's got the cool and collected that were like the best of these elements. But he also revels in what he does. And he does it as a hobby. Yeah. You even barely even saw it.
Barely, but it was great.
Oh god, I need to get you some of his audios. So I don't know. I definitely I've had a bad history with the Ronnie in the past. Even on Big Finish, I've never been a huge fan of her. But maybe we'll finally get one where it clicks. You know, maybe I'll get it.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But oh yeah, I forgot to make the joke where welcome to the last good episode of the season. Yeah, that's probably all to say about the Ronnie. Oh yeah, the thing is though, the thing about the copyright is a short version. The most classic Who characters, and I think even to the modern day to an extent, are not owned by the BBC beyond like companions and doctors. I think even the Brigadier is not owned by the BBC, but they might have bought his rights. They're owned by the writer who made it. And so the Ronnie was written by Pip and Jane Baker, who Big Finish used them briefly. They licensed them out, but they died a while ago. And then it became unclear who owned the rights to the Ronnie. And so no one could use her. Because they tried, but there's always the risk that like someone legally owns the Ronnie and is specifically not saying anything because they're going to sue when she gets used. So let's keep an eye out. Or like it's just someone who legit didn't know. I mean, this is the franchise where we regularly find missing episodes because some film collector just didn't know they were sitting on a missing film. So, it happens. But I guess Davies has finally convinced the BBC to just give it a go. But yeah, that's the situation. I think we might be good. But we'll see next time. Maybe they'll make it work. But I think the biggest fear of the fans is that by generation just becomes the new norm.
Yeah.
Classic fans overreacting, right? But in my eyes, by generation kind of kills what Doctor Who is, Yeah. Like this perpetually changing and the handing off of the torch is like I think the fear of every fan is that we just stop handing off the torch and it's always like Russell D. Davies has said, right? In his head, in that moment of the bi-generation, every Doctor bi-generated. Like in all their regenerations, they had the new one where we kept off and watching the show, but the other Doctors also like got up and had their own adventures. Which is just shit, right? Like that's just, like when Nine regenerates with Rose to sacrifice himself, actually he bi-generated, and then he goes off on adventures. And it's like, Russell, you're a weird dude. Please stop being a weird dude.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's just something about regeneration that's like bi-generation. Sorry, that just like, And especially
sacred. It's an essence of Doctor Who, and
there are ways you can say that like there's a reason that it's now happening that have to do with the 60th, which I could kind of get behind why this rare thing happened the first time. I still I can't stress how cosmically rare this has to be for it to have not have come up, but I can accept one. Especially when the Doctors passed the limit of like 13 regenerations. There's EU stuff where the reason it's at 13 is because it can start to go wrong after 13. Because quite frankly, it makes no sense that Rassilon would make himself mortal like that. It's like the most out of character thing ever. So like I could kind of get, but then my question is why from a writing perspective? Even in the giggle, I don't really know what we gained. And I can't see something coming from this other than like, hey, 2 Ronnies, wouldn't that be cool? I'm like, well, you know when you get a new doctor and it's like there's often a little bit of a period. It's where they have to go from like just some guy to okay, you're the doctor, you know?
Yeah.
We've just got two random women now. It's not like David Tennant in the new Doctor. It's not the old Doctor and the new Doctor. It's like two random women who might both be good Ronnies in their own right. But yeah,
we don't even have the same. They took the repertoire of the character we already knew and gave it to someone we don't. So it's now we don't we don't know that person. And they also took the character we knew and changed who they are as a character. And so now we don't know that person either.
I wonder if it's a bit of like a Worf effect where in Star Trek The Next Generation, Worf would often get beat up by whatever enemy of the week you had to show how tough the enemy was. But Worf never really got an opportunity to beat up the enemy, so it just made Worf look really weak and lame. And I kind of almost get the sense that we've made Miss Flood, like, she's literally cowering here.
Yeah.
To prop up the new Ronnie, which maybe isn't the intent. But I just don't see why we've done it this way.
Yep.
I do kind of like that we got it out of the way, though. Knowing it was coming, I'm glad I don't have to sit through a part one, like I did with Sutek, where it's like, okay, now it's Sutek, and we can actually get into the stuff. Because I know, at this point, nothing about the finale, the final two parts.
Nothing.
I know some stuff about the shooting schedule, but nothing about plot, you know?
Okay. Beauty.
If you know, you know. But, yeah. And I have some theories based off the shooting schedule, but that's what they are now, is they're theories. They're not actually, like, confirmed.
Yeah.
Should we get to the actual episode that everyone's here to talk about? An hour
yeah, let's run through it.
No, 37. God, the Interstellar Song Contest. So first off, I tried to confirm this, and I couldn't. Here I go. This is me, and then this is Davies off screen here. I don't know if this was pitched as a musical, or that was a fan assumption. Because Russell T Davies had said he'd love to do a musical. And of course, we knew this was like Eurovision. They even got the guy who hosts Eurovision. I double-checked that. He's actually the host of Eurovision since like 2018, it looked like. But like, this wasn't a musical.
Yeah.
And so no one responded. If this actually, like Davies or someone said this is a musical, no. In fact, I can check again. Hang on. Doctor Who. Oops, shoot. God,
it was very musically inclined.
No.
But it wasn't a musical. It was not a musical, but it was revolving around the art of music.
I don't even think it was. Rings of Akatan is more of a musical than
but this
that.
Was
but
no
like that's only a complaint if like someone in power said this was a musical. But I think for me and my wife, it was both like we sat down to watch a campy, fun musical, and we got like the darkest, most harrowing scene in the entire 60-year franchise of the show. And we're like, oh, this, where is it? I'm like, this episode is not what we thought this episode was. Here, hang on, I'll get there. My hotkeys are working now. Yeah. So it was a weird, I think afterwards I told my wife, like, I have no idea I'm going to rank this because I need to watch it again knowing what the episode is going to be. Although she just came on screen. I do like that the Ronnie was just kind of hanging out and also got caught up in like a sci-fi adventure.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is a long scene. There we go. Oh, shout outs. Well, that scene just happened. I did like the My Favorite Music is Pop. It's so dark. What was my guess? I don't remember, but I'm like, oh, I even told my wife, I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And yeah, then we get this, which is so visceral and real. And like, God, I would have been terrified for like a terrorist attack at this year's Eurovision. I would not have written this. This was the time slot before Eurovision. I'm like, no.
Yeah, this the two shots really that show this were
Then everyone in space.
Yeah. Just
Oh.
I mean,
yeah.
Horrifying. When we talked a few episodes ago in the well, I thought about when I was talking about, if you had every bone in your body broken, like they said, I feel like it would be more visceral. Then I understood that Doctor Who wouldn't do that. And you were like, no, Doctor Who can do horrifying things without being horrifying. And the second this scene started playing, I couldn't stop thinking about that.
After this season, we're going to come back into season 3. And bit of a sneak peek, but we're going to be watching the UK version of the finale of season 3, which is not cut for time, basically. Oh my God, is that a harrowing episode in the UK? Like, I genuinely went... I didn't know that the American ones were sometimes cut for time. And I thought it was deleted scenes. I went, yeah, I can see why you could deleted this. Like, this is family entertainment. And there are other episodes, Turn Left as well. But like, oh yeah, Doctor Who can do this. But like, man, I was here for Subspace Rhapsody. You know?
This is
and I got
horrifying.
like the largest terrorist attack in history.
Actual mouth agape during this scene.
But it was incredibly well done.
Very much. Yeah.
But, even more, in a way, it was kind of fitting. I don't think it justifies it, but if it was a ploy to say, like, this is the musical episode, to get everyone, like the audience, to come and expect, like, campy fun, and then that scene, that almost justifies it. Almost. Also, this definitely looks like the Senate from Star Wars. I'm
Absolutely. Yes, it does. I had that thought in my head until my head was filled with the lying bodies of 100,000 people.
What do you do? What do you do with the Senate chambers after you don't have a Senate anymore? This Eurovision. We're gonna call it Eurovision as well. We just are. Yeah. I was especially like. I'm surprised this got made, because could you imagine if anything went wrong at this year's Eurovision?
Yeah.
And then this was the thing you watched immediately before. God. But it was... Here we go. Here's the bit. It was... I think that's the pop music bit. Yeah, no. There was a lot that was very well... Oh, God, there it is.
It is...
You don't even think...
One of the best shots of this season.
Yeah,
it's horrifying.
Like Heaven Sent, it's so good, you don't even really care that for some reason the gravity is also turned off. Because it was just... It could be a control too. But it's like, yeah, this was easily the selling point of this episode, and it gets like 1 or 2 points in the rating because of that.
Yeah.
I've seen some things, I get why they had to then go like, everyone's still alive. But there kind of was an element that almost cheapened. I mean, like, I don't know. You probably wouldn't actually kill, like... God, could you imagine... Could you imagine killing the host of Eurovision and then, like, he had a heart attack or something on stage?
It was when they were in the control room, and then, they explained that, like, you can still save them. I was like, oh, they're all going to be saved.
They had 3 clear scenes.
Hold the punch a little.
Yeah. It was weird, though, that, like, it's a Mavity shell. I told myself I wouldn't say Mavity.
They said Mavity so much.
Which is from the 60th. I don't like Mavity. Yeah. Shout-outs to the Big Finish audio drama that used Mavity before the 60th came out. I liked that. But, months before, apparently, there was a Torchwood. But I found it funny when it was like, how are we going to get them all back in? I'm like, it's gravity. And then it wasn't gravity. But, I mean, I get it. Torchwood would have killed everyone. But Doctor Who's not Torch. Heck, actually, the finale of season 3 would have killed everyone. But then they would have undid it, also. They do. It's a harrowing episode.
Excited.
will say, the little gag of, like, oh, not again, from Rylan did kind of kill it. But then when it's revealed it's cryo-freezing, I'm like, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, they did something so horrifying that it's genuinely unbelievable they just did that one act. I would have gone home. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I'm
It's
like,
fun.
there's everyone cheering,
I was thinking. I was like, I'm not going back to
not
watch
needing an endless amount of therapy. I'm
this.
like, sorry.
Endless.
Endless. You would never go to Harmony Station. Ever.
I'd never leave the house.
No. Fair, honestly. That's not even what we wanted to talk about, though, is it? Yeah. I was really like, I don't know. That wasn't what I was told it would be, and that affected it. It was better on a rewatch, I will say that. And even I feel like some of my initial complaints were harsher. A little too harsh on my first watch through, but I still want to go over them because it's a review. I think a lot of the key points of this episode could have been done better. This is the first time, actually, that I have agreed this season that this episode needed 10 more minutes.
I agree with that, absolutely.
The Conrad one probably could have, but there have been people who are saying literally every episode this season feels like it needed 10-15 minutes. I've saw people theorize that they were written to be 50-55 minute episodes, more of a standard for streaming, which doesn't have to do 45. And that they were then told it had to be 45 and cut. Which kind of makes sense with the weird scenes we get, like the explanation of the dance at the end of Devil's Cord, or the whistle scene from Empire of Death. The inevitable scene where the Doctor tells Belinda what the TARDIS is before seeing it in Robot Revolution, which is the cornerstone for so many theories online. I'm like, people, it's a deleted scene. like we saw the last ones. And I agree, because my main complaint was that the Hellion plot line, I feel like they didn't quite earn it. I feel like they could have... Before I justify, what's like a vibe check on that statement? Is it this? Or is it like, yeah, I agree?
I feel like they did... I don't necessarily know if I would zone in on that one, because I feel like they did so many things in this episode that everyone got just nearly cooked. If that makes sense.
And a lot of there were a lot of little lines to hand wave stuff, which you could take as a writing critique or the solution. Or both. I think it was... At first, I thought it was a little convenient that the two guys who survived this... First off, that no one else was in the arena. No one was in the halls. I've been to the Spokane Arena, which is not Harmony Station. And, there's always someone in the bathroom or, getting a snack. Yeah. But there's a line when he takes everyone out of the booth. He tells the robots to, keep them in an airlock or something. And so I think the implication is that the robots have rounded up everyone who wasn't in the stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like, sure. Sure.
Yeah.
It seemed a little convenient then that these were the only two survivors. Actually, it's super convenient that they weren't taken away, come to think of it. They were literally next to a robot when the order was given.
You just left them. Yeah.
But then there's they had that booth because he works here. They gave him the booth. So that's the justification for him, knowing the symptoms.
Yeah.
Well, individually, I can accept all of this. The fact that the guy's also a medic, I'm a little convenient, but it happens. The fact that this guy wrote, the one piece of software they needed and is also a hologram. There was, 1% too much contrivance. Yeah. It is in the point firmly of nitpick. But it is one element to that. But the Hellion thing, I feel, just didn't have the time to develop. And maybe I'm just focusing too much on some individual lines. I'm looking for the scene, but there's the bit after he ejects everyone into space. Where she's like, "You're a monster." He's like, everyone's told me that my whole life. It's the horns. I'm like, I'm sorry, are you telling me that these aliens experience racism because they have horns? I know obviously, it's more complicated than... Oh, by the way, sorry, David C., thank you for the $20 donation. I filed that away. I was like, let me finish the thought. I'm going to give this episode 5 stars out of 10. So here's $20, $4 per star. Is that because you give $20 or because you didn't like it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would give this more than a 5.
I'm going to give it more than 5. But
this was no
I think it deserved a 7 at least. I think it was good. But we'll get to that later. I still don't know when I'm going to get it. It just felt weird. There's been enough of Doctor Who. I don't like it, but enough of Doctor Who that's kind of established, the horned beast, the devil figure, is like a universal thing. Because of one of many universal Satan-y figures. This goes back to like Third Doctor. You're not a big Eurovision fan? Never seen it either. But I also don't think this was about... Actually, I'll get back to my point. The people who are big Eurovision fans see this as a very obvious critique of Eurovision. I think they're kind of projecting, especially because some of the controversy around Eurovision is too recent to have like written it in. But that is worth pointing out. But there's enough in Doctor Who that said that that's like enough people would see that and be like, ooh, the devil. So like I could let that slide. But like, this is supposed to be a picture of their horns, by the way. Good enough. They're aliens. We've had... Granted, I can't think of a good one. I haven't looked up a list. But we've had horned aliens. We've had there's a pig in this episode. Literally just a pig. I think it's a Dalek pig slave. I'm not sure about the pig in the stands. But I'm like, a lot of the events I go to just have people with horns nowadays. I think they're kind of cute. Like, I feel like...
I can understand prejudices.
In the context of aliens. I assume there's a big, smear campaign the corporation did. But the fact he brought up it's the horns, I do get a vibe it's like it's a judging someone off their appearance, and the aliens look evil. That's kind of the line. And I don't like that. I understand the racism goes much deeper. But that kind of feels like... I don't when Europeans first met like the African peoples they would eventually enslave. The racism wasn't like that centuries of stuff that built up. It was like it was a few triggering incidents that then we built up off of, I kind of get the sense that like it's the alien powers discovered this species that had horns and they reacted like colonial England and went, oh, they're evil. They got horns. It's like, I don't know about that. But right, the more bigger problem is there's the line back here where the lady, after everyone barges in, is like, you were all silent. It's like, it's about time we told someone what happened. I'm like, wait a minute. Has no one tried to say what happened to the planet? Is this step 1? Is this... Because
I don't know. I feel like I can buy most of these.
Hear me out. The corporation, dumb name, bought this planet. I would assume from someone other than the Hellions, given that they seem to very much not like that, but maybe they did. Heck, maybe that's the grain of truth. They did it to themselves. That's taught in school. Because no one that we talk to beyond the Hellions, which, by the way, they're the Hellions. Manny the Man was bad enough, Russell. Also, I wrote this one down. I'm sure you caught it, but I think I looked at my wife. Liz Lizardine from the planet Lizdoko. Really? Liz Lizardine, the lizard from the planet Lizdoko.
Proud lizard.
Sure. You know what? I always thought that Moffat was better at names anyway. Or was that Davies? I actually don't remember. No, Davies was better at names. Davies. Drats. What's happening?
Where'd the time go?
I don't know. We're getting the 20th anniversary celebration of New Who soon. Wait a minute. Does that mean you're almost... No, don't answer the question. I don't want to think about that. Caden, why'd you remind me of that?
I didn't do anything.
Why did you remind me? If Doctor Who's 20, that means you must be almost 10, right? That's how it works.
I thought I turned 10 a while ago, actually. I don't remember why.
I think you're 8 now. You're going
8?
backwards.
How would I go backwards? I'm almost 11.
It's because apparently you're almost 20. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So, and then I think it's provable. Like, there has to be some record of transaction, you know? I could get by the corporation burning the fields, even though they own the fields. Like, that's something you could have answered with more time. I'm willing to accept there's a world. But also, this corporation is the kind of corporation that would burn a planet it owns so they can't grow a poppy. So it probably, right, let me put it this way. You'd be surprised, but you could see, like, Shell. It came out that Shell burned down a village for its oil, right? The oil company. Mm-hmm. You'd be very surprised if, like, Doctors Without Borders burned down a village for their medical supplies. The kind of company that would burn down a planet probably has got a bit of reputation for doing some shady stuff. I'd be very surprised if Amazon burned down a planet. But, like, I'd be a lot more inclined to believe it than a company that doesn't have a reputation for being immoral, you know? I feel like it's probably not the hardest sell. To remind you, this place has such strict gambling laws that you can't send any transmission out of the station to the point it impedes emergency services. I feel like they've probably got to have some decent laws at least, you know, in terms of
I feel like I believe in the universe's ability to be racist.
Wow, you must live in a sad world.
I don't encourage it, but I can totally buy that they would unreasonably be racist against this race.
Okay, now put it this way:
of victims.
Imagine someone put it on Reddit where I mentioned this. They said it'd be the equivalent of giving someone from Palestine a front row stage and like a main event at Eurovision, the largest non-sporting television event in the world. And I was like, that's kind of my point, in that people, I feel, generally know Israel is not good. That they do immoral stuff, especially with Palestine. And sure, I imagine most people aren't totally like educated to the fact that Israel seems to be, quite frankly, a country that I can't think of a single redeeming quality of. Might be a democracy, that'd be nice, but everything I hear is just bad. Like, maybe there's something, but the point is, one of the controversies I mentioned for Eurovision is that Israel's allowed to compete, and Russia isn't, for like basically doing the same stuff Israel's doing. Is that these are known things. And what seemed to solve it was this song. You know how we kind of talk about a racism episode is always hard because the resolution can't be the doctor solves racism. This one, beautiful song. This one kind of felt like the resolution and then they solved racism, but
I don't think they solved racism.
They also
had a good moment.
Really provide like proof. But I guess the point is, imagine that like Taylor Swift was secretly a Palestinian and none of the world knew about what Israel was doing in Palestine to the Palestinians. Would you not? I mean, it has to be such a provable thing. Buying a planet isn't something you just do, you know? Like there's...
I don't think it's such a one-to-one comparison because the Hellions aren't all evil. They've just been put into that spotlight. So it's more like if you went back 100 years and you put like just a black person or a clearly gay dude on stage to go out and sing in front of a bunch of like straight, white, racist, homophobic.
Caden, this is Southern. Just what Eurovision is. Like this is just Eurovision. Did you see that lady?
it's like then
Eurovision is an event that is seemingly accidentally banned pride flags, and its core audience is apparently the kind of people who love pride flags. So I'm told. Again, I'm not into Eurovision myself, but this seems to be the consensus.
I still don't think they solved racism, but I also don't think they couldn't have. I mean, like, how else would you have resolved?
It needed 10 to 15 more minutes to put in a bit more legwork to me. And I don't think this ruined the episode. Hi, Alex.
I have something to say to Caden's point earlier. Like, this would be just like if you put a black man, the way Caden was describing it, it would be more like if secretly racism was happening and then you put a white passing black man, because they wouldn't put just a black man up. They would have to be white passing to get on stage, because she hid her horns, and that's how she managed to.
We'll go with the gay
on stage.
I'm struggling for a modern analogy, at least from American perspective, because the thing is, this feels like
I'll go back up
older forms of racism, where now obviously you still have like the massive racists, but we're kind of not in the days of the black and white drinking fountains. We're in the days where it is more subtle, and when racism kind of expresses itself generally, it's through systemic things that like you don't just realize, or historical communities and zoning and distribution of wealth and microaggressions, and it's less overt, and in a way that feels like the passage of time. By no means is racism like fixed, but we're also not still doing the slave trade, you know? And so for me, it's like, why are all of these spacefaring civilizations succumbing to they have horns and psychic powers, which, you know, loads of aliens do, and every species is capable of, but I guess the horns give them psychic cannibals and also psychic cannibal horns, because horns are like the devil. It just, I'm like, why? I'm sure we could make, or maybe like go all out. Maybe actually make them look vicious. Because right now they look like the people I meet at conventions.
Yeah.
They look like the people selling 3D printed ducks, like, of has-been characters. It's, and it just felt like it didn't have enough time to really develop. And I can go along. I mean, it's not like it's a bad message. Maybe not this frame. It's not like it's a bad message, but it kind of felt simplistic. You know, I would have liked something more for messaging. And it did detract. It was better on the second time. But it did kind of feel like this was step one. And I don't even mean from like, these are the terrorists. I mean like, no random Hellion tried to. You can't just buy a planet. There's a paper trail, right? And like, people vacationed on this planet. It's a society. You don't just buy a planet and that goes under the radar. Even, hey, has there ever been a country that just like ate another one and no one noticed? I don't know. You see?
Question.
Like, well, I guess we wouldn't know, would we?
Yeah, that's.
I didn't think Italy was that big, but I guess it just always was. Shout outs, because I forgot, it's on the screen. Tryon is the planet of Fifth Doctor companion Turlo. That has no bearing on the episode whatsoever. Oh yeah, also you would never keep those horns under wrap. This seems like, you know, they were the big event. This I kind of see it as like, this is Taylor Swift or like Beyonce. Or it's like big. Who does her hair? You know, I can conceive that she has staff who like have to be fine with it, you know?
Yeah.
She doesn't do like a hair swish on stage or like,
well, probably not.
Get
Avoids
a
it because of the
paparazzi.
horns.
It's a risky hairdo when you have those horns. I'm just saying.
True.
Like if she has friendly staff, why does that one guy not like her? Who also had worked on this station? I was like, it was you know, like these guys, they don't see it.
What's under the hair?
bet she's gonna do a flish. There we go. Her hair just flipped up a bit. See? So the point is there's elements of this that are like, but yeah,
I suppose. I don't know. I'm being less caught by them.
Yeah, as I said, I was less bothered by them on my second watch through. Because that song bit is really well done. But I was kind of like, really? They're cannibals, and their horns give them psychic powers. I'm like, dude, you're a spacefaring individual. Cannibals?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess the criticism would be it was a little over the top, or just I would have liked more.
I can agree. 15 more minutes.
10-15 minutes probably would have really helped. Yeah. What do you have any other bigger points really? Whoops a doodle. I don't know. If I'm actually, you know what? I do. We got the doctor get real angry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good enough. We got the doctor being real angry. I'd like your perspective.
It did feel. I liked the sandwiching of the murder someone with gravity gloves in the first episode and one of the last episodes. It did feel, whereas in last episode, the anger didn't per se feel like it came from the same character and it felt off to me personally. In this episode, it felt correct.
Interesting. We disagree. Ncuti Gatwa played these scenes phenomenally. To the point where, like, half of them, I'm like, yeah, I see it. Through the acting. But, I mentioned last time, I feel like I finally got the feel of Gatwa, of 15. And as he's going on this speech of like, what I'm going to do is shove your body through the airlock and stand there and look out the window as you freeze to death. I'm like, this isn't your doctor. And not in a sense of Belinda, where it's like, this isn't you. Something's happened. I'm like, no, this isn't. You literally said darling in the middle of your threat. Like, for me, it didn't land. And the doctor definitely does stuff like that. We've seen David Tennant do it. We've had Family of Blood at this point. David Tennant's all about that. I think he's really channeling Peter Capaldi here, who faced the Raven, the end of that. I mean, Heaven Sent is literally an episode where the doctor is so angry and determined that he'll do anything to get what he wants. God, I wish I could literally tell you what he does, like one of the most badass scenes in the show, but but Peter Capaldi is a doctor. I do like to try and talk about the doctor rather than the actor especially when I criticize him. But the 12th Doctor is one who, from literally his introduction, is basically all about doing amoral and ambiguous stuff. The introduction literally opens the question, did he murder that guy or did he just talk him into suicide? That's deep breath. And he's full of questioning that and doing that immoral stuff. That's basically his arc. And the 15 that, with his bare hands, like you said, pulled that pirate ship down that I adored, and with his just as pure might and spite and determination, and skewered the Goblin King with the literal church spire straight through the heart. Absolutely would have watched that guy die out the airlock.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as I've said a lot, that 15th Doctor is enjoyed of the world and nothing else. And for me, I'm just like, you're not, though. Even when he's doing the thing with the glove, in the hologram. I'm like, that's not your one. And I think that's fine. A lot of people are like, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the Doctor to do this. And this is why I've said I have try and avoid saying darkness when I mean a particular kind of depth to the character. Because I also don't think the 15th Doctor is made better by taking it that far. Again, I kind of question the point of the whole therapy unburdening him of past traumas. When he literally says, it triggered me and made me think about that time my planet was destroyed, which I will say helped justify it. Probably could have used something like that earlier. But still, I'm like, I don't know, that's just not you, 15.
I think sort of going that far, specifically only going that far, is what justifies it for me, because I don't think this Doctor has a middle ground. I think it's very either light and airy or absolutely flipping a lid, going crazy. And the fact that it's consistently either one of those two, and there's not really a lot of muddy middle, ties it together for me, and it's why this scene made sense.
I think that's because 15 doesn't have a deeper character, and it's the writers doing what they're told and writing him as differently as possible.
I do agree.
But, I mean, I think I've gotten a deeper character out of less than ideal writing circumstances as of last episode. And
I think if they would have showcased the variety more, it would have actually like tied it together over the season.
If he had brought down goblin ships with his bare hands, even like once in more time in season 1 and 2, I'd probably buy it.
1000%.
But like this,
yeah,
I don't see him. He wouldn't even get to the airlock. Like, the best read is that he threatened it, and, like, he wouldn't even get to the airlock before he's like, you know what, this is just wrong. And that's kind of takes away from the moment. But I like to contrast that to 12, where 12's big freak out. There's a scene where he is basically in, essentially, an alien refugee place on Earth. It's like a secret place, the aliens hide out, and they're just the refugees. They're not trying to take over the world. You know, they're like the victims of that sort of stuff. And the leader of this place makes the Doctor upset. That is understating it. Let's make that clear. But he threatens to, like, tear down, you know, use his godlike abilities with the TARDIS to just make this character's life living hell and tear down this refugee street. So bring it down on all the refugees. He's like, you want me to call in, like, they've got so many people's enemies. Like, I'll call in the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Sontarans. Like, I'll get them all. And then the companion Clara goes in front of him and is like, no, you don't. It's like, this isn't you. Your reign of terror ends at the first sight of the first crying child. And the thing is, that's exactly what I said with 15. But for 12, I'm actually like, I disagree. I actually think 12 would have gone through with it. And I mean, Tennant does. Again, family of blood. He literally punishes a child by trapping them in the mirror or being as a scarecrow. 10 very much stood out the window and watched, disapproving of himself, but like believing it had to be done. There are doctors that do it, and I'm like, you're not one. 11 actually tries this a few times too. A Town Called Mercy, I think, he does similar things. I'm like, that's not you. Actually, they use the same turn of phrase. You put ice in my heart. The characters like to... I haven't written this part of my Doctor ranking video yet, which might one day happen. The show loves to describe, under Moffat, the Doctor having like a sliver of ice in his heart, which it kind of shows its face by... It was either JXE or Clever Dick Films. I don't remember which one put it best. Every now and then, seemingly randomly, the Doctor just does something like horribly immoral they'd never do, and then they realize they'd never do it, and that's it. And it just kind of comes off as out of character. Like, that's not really you. And it's like, I understand the circumstances, but if you're the kind of person who would say darling and babes, like every other word, I'm sorry, you're not the kind of person who, like, is going to give that Peter Capaldi stare down. And so I was like, it's not really you. But I guess it is, if the instruction is literally write him as differently as possible.
Yeah.
Susan's going to have a big talking to her grandpa about that. It's like, grandfather, she did. She's like, grandfather, what the heck are you doing? Yeah, and like literally through Susan telling him to stop. And he's like, no, I'm going to go through. I'm like, no, Susan would get you. You'd like drop everything for Susan. Okay, there are a lot of lives at stake, but yeah, and he thinks it's like some imagination or whatever, but still, the imagination of his granddaughter telling him no would stop him, and so for me it was just, but Shuri Gadwa I think hides that in a lot of the scenes. There's some scenes when he's actually in the control room. He does very well. Maybe it's just because they're less overt. And even that speech about throwing him through the airlock. Before you get to the airlock bit, he does very well. It's just that I think they took it a little too far for 15. And again, I'm questioning the narrative choice of like actually advertising it as a doctor who's past all the trauma and stuff. And then it's like, why do you keep writing? You burnt a regeneration to do this. I don't know. Any critiques? Because you disagreed, which I mean, good for you.
I do. I mean, I think it makes sense to me too. I can totally get behind the being triggered because like moving past trauma doesn't mean like it isn't still difficult. It just means it's not a burden you have to carry every day. But like if he sees 3 trillion people about to be murdered, I could see that maybe scratching at an old wound.
That's more the from a writing perspective. It's less that like he wouldn't still maintain any trauma. It's that I've watched that show for 20 years and I'm kind of ready to watch a different show. So that's more of like a meta thing. But
I think it just to
me it bothers me that he seemed to describe the first time Gallifrey was destroyed. Like, maybe I am misremembering. It is the Timeless Children. It's not like I've watched that episode a lot. But I feel like it wasn't a second thing. He just conquered Gallifrey, the person who did it. Because there was a question of how did he do it. That was a big one. Is like, did he single-handedly conquer Gallifrey when the Daleks couldn't at the height of their power? But that's a nitpick, you know. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to be triggered because it was the wrong type of death. It was the first time everyone died. You know, that's a nitpick.
The fact that not only he uses the same gloves that he used to kill the Goblin King, but in that it's a similar circumstance where he's worried about the safety of a companion, to me, it ties those two elements together.
I would like to point out that they're not the same gloves, nor do they actually do the same thing. There you go.
They're
you can
not
see
the same gloves? They don't do the same thing.
Yeah, obviously. But look, it's somewhere.
Similar.
Okay, cool.
They look pretty similar.
Yeah, just like 11's spacesuit.
Oh, crap.
Doctor Who Mavity gloves. Because they're orange and black. And they've got those lines across the hands. There you go. They don't have any sort of button. They've just got the lines. It's an entirely different... Yes, the Doctor is a consistent character because when he wears gloves, he goes too far.
Things. Yeah.
So
that really works in my brain.
It's how he keeps his hands clean.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Just like 11 in his spacesuit. I will say, you reminded me, sorry, I don't know why. We never used the pun for Miss Flood. Remember I said there's a pun, and now I was fully convinced? The rain, you could say that flood is caused by the rain, and rain is an anagram for Ronnie. It's Davies. This is a show about the Hellions with horns and Lizardo lady from the planet Lizard.
You are right.
Remember Manny the Man from Robot Revolution? That was a camp episode, or at least half of it was. So I got behind Manny the Man.
I mean, there's two
but
more
this was
episodes,
a little too far.
For that pun to make its way in.
But Manny the Man?
Don't give up hope now.
Oh, I know. But like the Doctor's got to learn. Or maybe he'll just recognize. True. I don't know. You're about to watch the episode where, because they gotta find the master on Earth, and he's like, Martha's like, how are we gonna find the master? He's like, I'll know. We're Time Lords. We just know. All the episodes where they don't. Oh, you know what I remembered? And I don't know how we've never brought this up. Earth was destroyed on May 24th, right? 2025.
Something like that, yeah.
A date which famously takes place between Christmas 2024 and Christmas 2025, right? Do you remember the plot of Joy to the World?
There was a dinosaur.
We just gotta wait a year from Christmas 2024 to 2025. And we even mentioned this is gonna have to be explained when we get to the finale, where inevitably 2025 is under threat. Honestly, it's been so long. I'm a little less bothered. I hate the time can be rewritten explanation for everything. I think it's damaging to the show, and it's mostly the criticisms I've done about the well before. Even this, why do I care if all these people aren't going to exist soon? Are you telling me they really dig up Eurovision out of the graves of Earth when Earth is still around? It's again. Maybe they did solve racism because Helia won't be bought anymore because Earth's around. Who knows? Earth is a big deal, galactically speaking. But I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I mean, let's ignore the fact that the Christmas 2024 was linked to the future. But
yeah, we'll just look past that one.
I'll forgive them if Susan's here because Susan lives somewhere that doesn't exist, and because she's a Time Lord, weird stuff has happened. But I think Susan might be season 3. I don't know. That's my hunch. We could bet. Not anything actually consequential, but there you go. Do you think Susan will say her big deal? She'll probably have little cameos or something at least. I don't think that counts. But do you think Susan is going to be a big thing in the next 2 episodes or season 3?
Is there an option C here? Because I'm leaning towards the option C.
Both?
Yeah.
I don't know. She's not as young as she used to be. I would be totally down for older Carol Ann Ford just being the companion. I don't know. She's probably pretty gosh darn close to retirement age. Carol Ann Ford. I think she might still do Big Finish. She's 84 years old, Carol Ann Ford.
Man.
Wow. Don't say it like that.
Sorry,
I'm basically that age.
It wasn't supposed to come out like that. It was more like a man.
Poor woman.
She looks good for 84.
84 years old. I don't know what an 84-year-old is supposed to look like, but...
Well, she's looking great.
All right, there you go. Way to try and save yourself. Should we just go scene by scene? I don't know. I feel like I've been real negative on an episode that doesn't deserve a stream that's mostly negative. There's that frame you saw from last.
There is, yeah.
Did you notice she lost an eye or something? And it's very poorly damaged. I didn't catch that the first time. He even makes a joke, how he almost died and looks at his disfigured host. I'm like, oh, okay. We can say that he got food poisoning, even though I guess he did it in the middle of presenting. That one bugged me too. But I don't know. I feel like it needed 10, 15 more minutes. Honestly,
I can agree with that.
That's the criticism. I mean, who knows if they would have actually made it work. But
that's it. Yeah, they could have bombed it.
Well, I don't know. We're saying this, but I don't know if there's many episodes from Davies and Moffat or even Chibnall where I would say the problem is you need 10, 15 more minutes. So what's changed? I mean, yes, most stories would probably do better with more time. But is it on the writer for being unable to write a 45-minute story.
Well, yeah, I think it's like if they kept the writing at this pace, it needed more time, but they could have written tighter and kept it at this length.
That's a good point. I like this pace though. I just want longer, and I know that's gonna cost money, and people want longer seasons, because that would also help with other problems. The show needs more, and I don't think the show's in a position to get the more that it needs. I saw an interesting take once that if Doctor Who was owned by like anyone but the BBC, a lot of its problems would go away. Because Doctor Who, when it makes a lot of money through merchandising, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because it's the BBC, that merchandising money doesn't go into Doctor Who, it goes into the BBC. And obviously partially to Doctor Who. And like arguably that how it'd be on a normal studio. Maybe this person was just talking out their butt. But the BBC, and rightfully so, doesn't operate like a normal TV place. So I don't know. That was an interesting thought though. Yeah, we could have done more with more seasons. I feel like I wouldn't say I need more of Belinda's character, or really even Shooty at this point. I'm missing 2-parters that aren't finales, which, even outside Davies, let's be honest, they're rarely very good. Like, there are good ones, but outside of Davies, I think they're honestly not that great. But 2-parters are they're often the best.
Yeah.
I guess Blink, Midnight, and Heaven Sent, the 3 episodes I thought of off the bat, are 1-parters. You can do a good 1-parter.
True.
But, I mean, looking at Big Finish, looking at Classic Who, all the different writers that I've written for the show, Doctor Who just really lends itself to about an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of interesting we don't have more Doctor Who movies coming to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's where we end up though, is Doctor Who's just movies, because it for a British show it's weird, like
the
getting
MCU.
Well, I mean it's weird in general, but a lot of British shows, especially these dramas, actually do have like, here's 6 episodes, see you in like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like Red Dwarf or something has incredibly short seasons. Basically everything British does, but Doctor Who's follows more of like an American thing until about nowish, where we've hit 8, which just, to be fair, is kind of common for streaming. But people, I don't know, more time. I wish Doctor Who could be like Star Trek, where it's still like, it does 10 is kind of the standard for Star Trek. That would help. But they're largely 45 minutes. But every now and then they're like, this episode had to be 70 minutes. So here's a 70-minute episode. And as long as the episode actually needed it, brilliant. Usually it's like, this one's an hour. This one's 55 minutes. It's just giving that 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Preferable,
we'll see,
that
though.
is.
We'll see, though. I mean, that's the ideal, is that a story gets as long as it needs.
It gets what it needs, yeah.
But, and I kind of wish, I don't know. I'm not English. I don't pay my license fee. But I hope there's a solution where the BBC can kind of work something out, because that is the best part of streaming, is ditching the hard requirement.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the BBC. My understanding is there are no ads. There might be limited, but the BBC could probably manage to like just abandon consistent times and be like, yeah, this episode's 55 minutes. We'll just show like something that's 30 or 40 minutes afterwards and kind of balance it out. Like, I don't know. There's gotta be a world where that could happen.
If they fight for it.
If they fight for it. This is the number one problem facing the BBC, is just that their times are too structured. It's not that like all of the younger generations don't have cable and they go to streaming. Really, the BBC should be in the best position to go to streaming, right? Because they don't make ad money. They are already a subscription service, like a government mandated subscription service.
Yeah.
I guess this is way outside the scope of Doctor Who. But the thing is, if you own a device capable of receiving a television signal, you are legally required to pay the license fee. And they do go after people for that in very controversial, like mostly single mothers who don't have money and don't know better. It's actually quite horrible. But I'm not in Parliament, but you could figure something out, I bet. You know?
Yeah.
Are we doing the scene by scene? Gosh, it's been too long.
We'll brisk
through it. I don't know. It's been interesting the last few episodes. I wonder what this says about the episode, that we haven't had a lot to say scene by scene.
Well, I realized in the middle of this episode it was interesting that I paused it to do something, and I was shocked that I was actually halfway through the episode, because it felt like, I don't know,
we're about here.
It felt like I couldn't have been that far in. Yeah. Not necessarily per se that not a lot happened.
It definitely did. A lot happened.
Yeah. But it's weird how, I think before, earlier in the show, I mean, there was so many we're going from A to B to C to D, and these more recent episodes seem more like they're taking place in a few places. They're driven by the characters and the story, and less the sort of
they're good.
They're good, yeah. Less the spectacle, which is a crazy thing to say in the episode where 100,000 people floated into the sky.
That was I mean, as we both said, that was like the defining part of this.
But like, before, we had scenes where we'd have to take a moment to pause for the 15 seconds where Ruby becomes a lizard person. Like, of course we would have to stop and talk about that, but now we're not really getting a lot of those.
I might say they're figuring out the pacing if these weren't filmed at the same time. You know what? It might be it's not Russell T Davies. I wonder if that's
this one not Russell T Davies at all?
No. This, I believe, was the woman who wrote This Book is Gay. A book that I know nothing about other than it is allegedly gay. Well, I haven't read it. It could be a lie. I don't think it's a lie. List of Doctor Who episodes. And in fact, let me just hide that screen, because sometimes Google likes to pop things up that it shouldn't, which sounds really wrong, but it's actually just my Google account. Russell T Davies. I want to take a peek. Rose, End of the World. I don't know. That's got some quiet stuff. Is that kind of boom 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 the Savine? I don't know. Well, I mean, this is season 1, is above and beyond.
I think more so in comparison to the season which we just Shooty's first season, which is also crazy that they were written and recorded back to back.
Love and Monsters. This is actually why I knew Belinda was the companion way back before season 1, is because they film it. Yeah. So Love and Monsters is like slow, different. I don't really know if he was
19 years ago or something.
Everywhere. I mean, his finales are like stuffed. If at worst, we're going in this finale with Conrad, 2 Ronnies, Susan, presumably the reunion between Susan and the Doctor. It's
maybe they'll be.
It's a little worrying that we had to move the reveal to an end credits section. You know what? I actually would be interested to see a Russell T Davies finale where they're like, Russell, you've got 3 hours if you want it. Like, what does it look like if he puts 20? You know what he would do? He wouldn't put 20 things in. He'd put 70. He'd more than triple it.
Didn't they do that with like? Didn't they do that with like with David Tennant and Rose or something?
You might be thinking of Journey's End, which is Endgame, like a decade early. Not a decade.
We recently saw something that was in an after credit scene.
Oh my gosh, it was 11 years early.
I don't remember.
Midnight. Yeah, I mean, he's got Midnight. He's got Turn Left. No, if it's Russell, this is a new thing. He definitely hasn't been like that historically, but the way he talks about making the show, it is interesting if you ever go read his interviews. The best way I'd say it is he seems like the kind of viewer who is, I guess, to make the joke we've been doing with you, the filthy, disgusting casual that, like, you maybe you disagree, but I assume, are you aware that people kind of complain generally? You get this a lot with bad reboots or people who've taken over a long-running show like Doctor Who. But, J.J. Abrams' Star Wars, Star Trek, or just the new shows like that are overstuffed on Marvel and in Star Wars. Like all style, flashy, no substance. The like prestige TV to the extreme. Russell T Davies kind of feels like a guy who's genuinely into that. And I mean, even before, his finales were all style. I mean, not that they didn't lack substance, but like Daleks versus Cybermen, the Daleks returning with the Time War, and then you haven't seen the other ones. The Avengers Endgame, 11 years early. Like, they're definitely full in events. The universe is always at stake. And he very much seems excited. And we talks about it. He's like, look at how much money we can put into the CGI and stuff. Yeah. Which, especially in the Doctor Who community, broadly, I think there's a lot of people kind of grumbling, like, I want a good story. That is what I'm here for. But, the big spectacle still does good at the box office. He kind of feels like the guy who's the reason why. And with Doctor Who specifically, this was the show that until, like, 2 years ago was always, from, like, 1975 to 2 years ago was always, like, behind. Look at 70s Star Trek and 70s Doctor Who, and is not the same.
Yeah.
It's the show that's been beloved despite its bad effects and that thrives with the limitations. And the fans are like, I honestly don't care. I mean, shout outs to this set, by the way, which is a good set. But I've said I think Russell has done amazingly with putting that money into the sets and not taking me out of it. I've said that plenty of times before, like the Goblin ship, the Joy of the World Hotel. Love that stuff. Christine. But still, he does seem to put it in the writing, where just because he's excited about that, because there's 2 Ronnies and a Susan and Earth's blown up again, and the CGI monster looks fantastic, that it's good. Which, I mean, to be fair, I mean, it seems to do well. It's not like no one likes that.
Yeah.
But like for us, for a lot of the fandom, it's like I would rather have the story if we had to compromise.
If you had to pick, 100%.
And also, the practical effects department has been killing it for like 10 years on Doctor Who. Like, oh my god, the practical effects department is like knocking it out of the park. And again, this isn't even Disney money. The 60th anniversary specials were before the deal with Disney. Disney sort of retroactively paid for them. So I don't know if the BBC planned to get more money. Like they wouldn't have spent that much if they weren't going to sell it out. Maybe they did. But it's worth that they were before they look just as good. I could not tell. And a lot of the people who make the show have actually gone, the Disney money is not nearly as meaningful as you think. So who knows? We'll see. I mean, this green screen and CGI has gotten better since Chibnall. But, like, I don't even know if it's that much better, really. Like, realistically. Flux was very bad, but Flux was also in COVID. So maybe that's part of why the green screen was very bad in Flux. So there were other things going on. You know what? I wouldn't have prioritized the BBC either. Or maybe I would have because of lockdown. I don't know. There's an argument.
Yeah, coin flip.
Bread and circumstances, I guess. But yeah, that's all NHS, BBC. Those are the only departments that get funded now. All I do like that they got, even though like I don't know him, they got the actual Eurovision guy.
Yeah.
Presumably they found his corpse and don't think about it, but
Trying.
like as well, Graham Norton was like, wish I didn't sell my identity in perpetuity, which no one really reacted to as horrifically as that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a joke someone wrote. It felt in bad taste, but I was like, who did you sell that to? Space? Like, I think you might be public domain, mate. I'm sorry. I don't think he could sell his. Also, that implies that Graham Norton either has already sold his identity in perpetuity or will do so in the next 6 days.
Ooh, that's exciting. I'm looking to buy.
Any buyers, yeah, Graham
At
Norton.
this rate, yeah.
It's gonna be very valuable in a future that will never happen in 7 days. Well, actually, I guess a week plus 6 days will undo it. I still have no idea what's gonna do. Presumably the Ronnie. But again, like, why would the Ronnie want to destroy Earth? I mean, this reality doesn't have Time Lords.
See what happens.
So wait, is the Ronnie know she's gonna destroy? God, I don't even want to think about the bootstrap paradox implications. And I think we still have questions about that diploma we wanted answered, but like have forgotten what they were.
Yeah, don't remember.
So Robot Revolution's gonna dodge a bullet here.
The diploma like by generated itself.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense, and it still kept the tear. That'd be kind of. I kind of like the idea of a doctor who like has a scar, or maybe like they're missing a finger or something, and then when they regenerate, they still have the scar or missing the finger, and they're like, "Dang it!" Like I was looking forward, some sort of light. Or a bald doctor that regenerates into a bald doctor and is still upset they don't have hair. That's how you do that tastefully. That's the tasteful version.
We still need like to figure out Belinda somehow being related to Monday or something.
I think that was just it. Is they said like it's the they gave some sci-fi word, like they said it's the translation of DNA across time theorem. I don't remember what they said, but I was like, I think that's honestly it.
Don't love that.
I think I saw someone theorizing that the Ronnie's using it, but he's like, it's been too long. I go into Russell T Davies finales expecting there's no answers, because then if he actually gives answers, it'll be the best episode
Pleasant
ever.
surprise, yeah.
It'll be amazing. My expectations could not. Actually, no, I did go into Chibnall finales, but my expectations would struggle to be lower with a Russell T Davies finale. But I mean, Susan's in it, so.
True. Hopefully.
Hopefully it's good. I kind of hope she isn't, because then she's going to be written in what's not a finale. You know what I mean?
Assuming at that point, then she gets written at all.
I don't think it's the finale that's the problem. In a way, it is. But like that's the. Could you imagine like Doctor Who ends? That's it. Canceled. I'll address. There's been a report from the Mirror, which is apparently usually not a very good source, but specifically written by someone who's done a lot of Doctor Who leaks and announcements. Don't worry, this isn't plot. This is about season 3. Well, happening or not, that's what it is. Like apparently they got Jenna Coleman's decision to leave the show and then her changing her mind. They've got a lot of the animations right. They seem to be in for Doctor Who. Good track record. That the expectation is, from what I'm getting about, the expectation is that Doctor Who will be greenlit for a season 3 regardless of Disney's decision. Which, to be fair, is not Doctor Who has been greenlit. From what I understand, it's like that's the expectation. And then the war between the land and the sea will be next year to bridge the gap, as if that'll actually matter. I don't care if it's the best thing that has ever come out of Doctor Who. I feel like it still doesn't bridge the gap. But that's me. We got to figure out if we're going to watch that or not. Like by the time we get back to Ncuti Gatwa, we might be on like Capaldi. Wow. We might even be on Whittaker.
I mean, yeah, we're going to be a while.
It's gonna be a few doctors. You might actually be a fan by that point.
I'll try, and I'm clawing.
I don't know
way.
the way you complained about the Ronnie. Alex did nothing for that reveal either because they didn't know.
Yeah.
See, that's the frame I want, Disney. I will say though, I did know it was happening, and I heard from people who didn't that they were like amazed. Did it feel a bit like underwhelming, structure-wise, as a reveal? Like we've had over a year at this point of this woman showing up mysteriously.
I think yes,
and then it's like, oh, we're just doing it in a mid-credits.
In that regard, yeah, but like, yeah, where they placed it, and then of course the writing flaws that we already talked about in the By Generation. I think there were a few fumbles, but like broad strokes as a whole, I also think it could have been worse.
Yeah. It's why I'm not excited for finale. Russell T Davies is just the kind of person who gets excited by the sheer prospect of there being two Ronnies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end. It's not any idea of what you can do with it. It's just that there's two Ronnies. And I'm like, that is not me, Russell.
Yeah, and even so now, there's the Ronnie, and then there's a Ronnie that's barely
apparently, even though, I don't know, poor Miss Flood is...
Yeah.
By the way, this is actually, I mean, the second and third Ronnie in TV, by the way. She's never... she's a different woman in Big Finish, I think. It's played by who? Kate O'Mara, who's a big name that I don't know outside being the Ronnie, but I thought I'd bring that up. I think she might be one of Doctor Who's biggest names in the classics, actually. And, like, she actually was a big name when she played. She just really liked it. She wrote a famous postcard from like some Hollywood movie to John Nathan Turner, the producer at the time. And it was like, wish I was in a wet Welsh quarry. And then she's like, you're hired. You want another episode? Come back. And then they canceled the show. So, you know. Yeah, that was upsetting. All right. By the way, I haven't pointed out yet, but they're literally named Kid. I know it's a tragic backstory that's also like really, really harsh. I do have questions about the implications actually, but I'm not supposed to. So it's like, okay, shot before anyone asked the names. Like, were they waiting for the child? Was it like childbirth at gunpoint? Then why'd they shoot her? Not, it's like, but anyways. Yeah, it's Kid. It's like a goat. Belinda even says, like a baby goat. Like how when she turned out and been like, that is the most racist. I'm a Hellion, and that is the most racist thing I've ever heard. You heard the stuff about the cannibals? That was better. No. Man, we should really prep scene. It's almost like I should take notes again.
There it is again. Perfect. Great.
It legit, this episode's gonna get like a point or two from that scene.
Yeah, best shot of the season.
I can't imagine what YouTube compression is doing to it, though. I could see, actually. I'm gonna maximize the stream on my other window. And yeah, the gravity is not working, but it is working in her pod. It's the heaven sent excuse. It was such a good... I rarely give it, but I'm like, you know what? I can justify that in order to get into the dome, they would turn off the gravity for the spaceships. However, I still question. This is why I think you should just have glass. Oh my god, YouTube compression is not being handy. That's HD? Oh wow, that's bad. Hang on.
Not ideal.
Oh, I hope there's not like a stream key or something there. There you go. That's actually wait, that's better on that monitor.
That doesn't look that bad.
I think it buffered and got back. And good. There were no stream keys or anything. I know that window's safe, but every time it comes up, I have to panic check that window.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Again, stop me if you ever.
That part was a little crazy, but then he made fun of it
cannon?
himself, which almost is like.
The thing is, I didn't even think it was crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's not camp. That's just the solution. That's clever, It's not even clever. It's just like, yeah.
He was also swimming in space, which can you?
Well, no,
can't
he was
really-
flailing his arms, but he did scream, and that one did get me. Russell T Davies ruining my doctor. Now we got to save those. But you all did get to avoid my rant about modern music. So, this episode did have a lot of references in the world building sense, though, which I appreciated. Like, I don't know if you remember the Delta Wave, which was the thing the Doctor, Ninth Doctor was building in his finale to take out the Daleks and half of Earth. We had Tryon, of course. We had other things, but I liked it. It was the kind that just made it feel like a world, and not not referencing just to the sake of referencing it, kind of like The Well did with Midnight. There's the guy. We talked a lot about this scene. I wonder what it is. Why aren't we getting scene by scenes? Every now and then I struggle with a show, but the Doctor Who is just, it might be having you in the sense that you bring out the things I'm saving.
Yeah.
Shruti did a good, contemplative thing here. He is he's a very good actor, especially for the part. He can do a lot of the roles.
Yeah.
Well. It's a mistake to, for example, not write the deeper character, and instead just have him be totally different every time to show off his range. But he definitely has that range.
It's gonna be tough. I've been meaning to go back and rewatch Sex Education, and now I'm just gonna see the Doctor.
I get this with Matt Smith. Even though I have never seen him in anything other than Doctor Who, he became so big. Every time I start, it's kind of like, that's just Matt Smith.
Yeah.
That's not the Doctor. That's Matt Smith. And that's why I never, I'm going to be so disappointed if they ever announce a new Doctor and I know them.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually pretty common of a take. Well, most people are aware of, an actor, but they're an up-and-coming at best. That's unfair. Some of the classics were big names in the UK. But it's my ideal reaction to the new Doctor is who.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't say that because that's my ideal reaction. But I want someone I've never seen before. And it's unfair career-wise. It's bad to say you should only be the Doctor. But it's more just because of how I watch media. It's David Tennant's just literally in nothing else I've seen except Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I don't think he's in anything else. Well, he's in some Big Finish before he was the Doctor. He's I've only ever seen him in Doctor Who as not the Doctor and as Barty Crouch Jr. for those 5 minutes of the fourth Harry Potter. This was well done, though. I really did like the
burning planet. That was cool.
I actually also did like the shot of the burning field. It was a really well done shot, and maybe it's because it's kind of the context of the music video. I did wonder a bit how they did it. It looks very real, but it's just wildfire season, and they're waiting to put some poppies. Look, that's a very good shot.
They sent one guy out there. They're like, you need to go in there.
You need to go.
You need to get this shot.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was stock, but it works. If it's stock, I'm not complaining, because how else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a miniature, or it's just because there's a lot of smoke. Maybe
this
is
I don't know.
There's a concrete wall 4 feet back, or it's the poppies in front of some fire, but it's really well done. And this is what I was saying before, where Russell T Davies' era of Doctor Who is doing an amazing job. I think any other era, I would have complained that I see the director's hand, and it takes me out of it. But it works. He really can manage to put that budget in places where it works, and I don't get pulled out. And eventually we'll get caught up with 11, and I can start complaining about that shot of it. It's literally an 11th Doctor. I brought it up. One of the episodes opened with a shot of some wheat. I think it's Let's Kill Hitler. Might be Vincent and the Doctor. It's something like that. And I'm like, that is the moment in my head where this became an issue globally, is that year. Even though I know it's a problem before that episode when I've done rewatches. That's the scene. It's Let's Kill Hitler is when the world started to go wrong. Anyway, before it's kind of simple. It doesn't have to be more, but I do like this set just for what it is. It did bother me at the end. I'm curious if you have thoughts. Like, Belinda called the doctor out, but when it's like, Doctor, I forgot to tell you, I've never told you, you're amazing. I'm like, you met this guy, what, 2-3 days ago now? Like, even the bit where she's like, that's not him. It's like, they've definitely been through enough that they've got a good feel for each other. But if I was Belinda, I feel like I'd kind of have a moment like similar with Rose in End of the World, where she's like, your machine gets inside my head and you didn't even ask, and kind of realize she might have made a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I wish we'd gotten that. And especially coming into the finale, I thought that was going to be like I'm done, you know? In fact, that probably really could have added some depth, is then the doctor having to going on with having crossed a line and therefore his companion left, which I don't think has ever happened before.
Ooh. Okay.
I genuinely think
like
that'd be
some of that.
Tegan leaves because it's not really fun anymore, because Eric Sayward is the script editor. No, because, like, you know, it's a lot of not fun time, and but that's not the doctor's fault. It's the flippin' fifth doctor. He's like the most chill guy. But you know, that's happened, but it's never really been because of the doctor. It's like, hey, doctor, we keep running into Daleks and it makes me sad. I'm gonna go home now. I want that now. It's like a perfect opportunity. And then he'd have to live with that. I feel like maybe you could have even done something where, like, he gets an alien because of it. He kind of distances himself from Earth. Maybe he feels a bit homeless, because Earth is his adoptive home. I actually really like this take Modern Who has done, is that Earth has, after the destruction of Gallifrey, kind of became his adoptive home. And that's one of the big reasons he keeps returning, is like, that's his home. As generally, we're pretty welcoming of him. I mean, we make him the president of Earth, you know, that's pretty
true.
welcoming. But I could see a cool arc there where someone kind of brings him out of that. I don't know. I think there's potential in that arc, but honestly, I just want something, man.
Something new.
We want something. Even just Belinda having to go home is like, it's not what I asked for, but that Chinese sprinkle is really welcome.
Yeah.
Genuinely, who is the last person that, like, had a desire outside? I guess you could argue Ruby and her mom, but I don't think that ever came up as, hey, doctor, can we use my time machine?
Yeah.
I guess the doctor tells him, no, at one point, we can't go back to the church for, like, timeline reasons. That did come up. But, Perry? Maybe Ace? Like, end of the class? I genuinely don't know. They all just kind of come for the sake of traveling, which I guess is fine. But after 20 years, you know, they can get a bit samey.
Yeah.
We did finally learn that they did not lose the sound effect to the cloister bell. However, they did lose it under the sound of this new alarm I really don't like, and I think is a standard.
Yeah. But at least we got the cool red lights.
Any other show, it would be all right. But it's just an alarm, and you're Doctor Who. You have the cloister bell. Come on.
Yeah.
We got the cool lights.
We did. Always a win.
I have forgot to mention this for the past few episodes, but I think this is also a non-canonical episode, though, so it's fine that he's a little out of character in my mind, because he doesn't cry.
No, actually, I think
does?
he shed a tear when he was, like, bullying the guy. Bullying the guy,
Maybe
like, killing him.
Yeah. Man, what must it feel like to be bullied by a bully who's crying because he feels bad about bullying you? Anyone in the chat, I don't even know how I'd react. Maybe he did. I don't know. I'm kind of curious of a tally. I would genuinely be curious once it's over, just because of how much of a deal people have made out of it.
Yeah.
How often, what, like, the proportion ends up being. I'd be curious for Tenet too, because it's not going to be a high percent, but
It was interesting right at the end here that the TARDIS like exploded, kind of.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too until we got here.
I literally told Alex, because we've been watching the Third Doctor, and this is the sort of thing that happens. God, I gotta be quick. All right, and I'm only getting one attempt. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I don't know why I muted that. Watching the Third Doctor, and this is the thing that happens, is classic Doctor Who has like cliffhangers between every part, as they do. But we're in the Third Doctor, and so often the cliffhanger is like someone points a gun at the Doctor, and then the Doctor beats him up next episode, and that's the solution. I was like, man, could you imagine Ncuti Gatwa just like beating someone up at the end of the episode? Or it's like, there's a lot of fake out things. I'm like, could you imagine Ncuti Gatwa doing this cliffhanger? I'm like, could you imagine? Because like, there's not really an out to this one, right? But that's sort of this was the Ronnie's TARDIS.
Yeah.
So it's like he's gonna pull something out of his butt. But I've always wondered, what's it really like, right? When you're back in the 60s and for the whole tune in next week, will the Doctor be shot by the henchmen or tune in next time? It's like, no, he's not gonna. Because don't get me wrong, some of them are good, But like, what's it really like to go to school as like a kid? Do you talk about how's the Doctor gonna get out of the door exploding? Honestly, I think the kids would. That's totally. But do you be like, he's gonna live. The show wouldn't do that. It's like that.
Well, whatever. I mean, that's how it was when he got sucked out.
So I feel like
outer space.
We're gonna hard cut to like 15 minutes in the episode, and then we're gonna come back, and he's outside the TARDIS, and he explains. No, we're gonna do the opening to actually the next episode on our watch-alongs, which is we open, and they've already escaped. And then he tells them how they escape. Or we see a cut of him like flipping a switch.
Exactly.
And this is
crazy.
This is the throw everyone outside the TARDIS switch. Actually, we have established in 11th Doctor, TARDISes are designed not to kill their inhabitants. And so in the event that like it would, for example, it deletes a room that someone is in, it throws them into like a safe room. Designated safe room, which I think is the console room, actually. So that's a bit of a whoopsie. But maybe we'll have something in the no, Russell T Davies wouldn't have other TARDIS rooms. No, Caden, he wouldn't. Even though,
maybe.
I mean, he's had a lot of teasing. He's got so many doors. He's like, I heard you complained last time I didn't put a door in the TARDIS.
In the costume room, and they'll use
It's
all the
Davies.
Costumes to be like fire repellent, so it'll be like installation, and they'll hide behind all the costumes.
To see a corridor. This is Russell T Davies.
You've got me excited.
Do you want to know the first season we really properly went into the TARDIS for Modern Who? 7.
I have a feeling.
7. Season 7. The one the 11th Doctor regenerates in. That's how long it took.
I think I'm going to allow myself to have hope.
No. You'll be crushed. Just be me, Caden. Just assume Russell T Davies is going to write
become
bad
a hardened old
spectacle
old
finale that makes no sense. And then if he doesn't, imagine your joy. It might even reach the peaks of Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I'm
gonna let this innocence live in my heart.
That's fine. You have faith in the universe's ability to be racist. But, you're going to believe that
And I just as much have faith in Russell T Davies. I have just as much faith in the universe's racism as I do Russell T Davies' ability to show me a costume room.
You know what? You might not be a fan yet. You haven't been burned enough. You may not be a disgusting casual,
Hope is
but
the only thing I can't have taken away from me. It's only my decision to set down hope, and I will never make that decision.
Well, maybe season 4 you will. I don't know. Or maybe season 3. Do you remember Empire of Death? What did we give Empire a death?
Well, there was a cool TARDIS. There was a cool room in that. There was a cool room in that
8.5
episode.
actually.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know. You gave it an 8. That's fine. There was a cool room in what episode? Oh yeah, the cool TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's less cool when you actually recognize the other TARDISes.
Well, I'm not there yet.
God, I need Alex. I don't think Alex is watching anymore. Alex, out of 10, you want to come down here? I'm just gonna. Would prove he's a fan. The spreadsheet would prove he's a fan. Look, this isn't about proving he's a fan. It's proving he's wrong. God, I've had 7s and 9s. You're either like fine or one of the best. You've had 7s and 9s. So
Man, I know what I think I'd give this one, but
you do.
I haven't been using decimals, so I don't want to start now.
I mean, I think you did last season.
I did.
Yeah, you did. IMDb. I think I'm going to have to be more specific than IMDb. Doctor Who. What the heck is this called? So I have no idea what IMDb is going to rank this because it wasn't a musical. This premiered directly after like some sort of World Cup thing and then directly before Eurovision. So I don't know if that would affect people. I don't know who won Eurovision. Who won Eurovision 2025? Israel's the only country I know was in. Austria wins the 6... spoilers, actually, if you haven't watched Eurovision. With the duck people. They had the duck song. I will say, Doctor, it seems to have taken a bit of a hit recently for you. Yeah, like, that's 6, but 8, 9, 10. And then we kind of...
I mean, I can turn your frown upside down right now. I know what I'm going to give this episode.
Okay.
An 8.
An 8?
An 8.
Walk me through it, Walk me through.
Because a 7.5 contains a decimal, and we're not in decimal land this season, all right? I'm a decided fella. I'm not going to sit on no fences.
I think you might not be taking this spreadsheet as seriously as some people think it deserves.
I'm taking it very seriously. That's why I'm not dilly-dallying with these decimals.
I don't think you're taking the spreadsheet seriously. I think you're taking something else. You want IMDb?
I do want IMDb.
Interesting. All right. What's the first number? And if it's a 10, the first number is not 1, but I would be very surprised if IMDb maxes out at 10, so.
I bet people really liked it. I'm going to guess 8 is the first number.
7.
I'm going to guess 7 is the first number.
Point. I will say it's I think they liked it.
7.
Yes.
Oh,
whoops. 7.
Yeah.
What's that? The second highest is 4th? Number 4? Yeah. Number 4. Just behind Lucky... Well, people really like Lucky Day. Behind Lux, behind The Well. I probably like this better than The Well. I think I did. I think this was better than The Well. That's not much of an insult. The Well was like fine. Actually, it's not Lux. Story in the Engine really was a 9. That's a weird 9. I feel like I can't compare anything to Story in the Engine, though, Even thinking back, I'm like, there's not really anything thinking back on that story. It's really like an in-the-moment story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what did I enjoy about I enjoyed the stories, but I can't really, it was an in the moment. I don't know where my wife is. They might be sleeping on the couch. I might pop and try and find them. And by the way, if you missed last time, these are my ratings for the episodes. If they have a scene in which the space babies do the can-can, which is very unlikely. But if that happens, these are what the episodes are going to get. Alex has come in with an 8 out of 10, bringing their average up. Alex is actually, so far, the most negative out of all of us, even before.
Wow.
Even though a glance at their score, they said they did 1-9, but they're largely sticking at 8.
Robot Revolution
There were some nitpicks they
Downed
had.
it.
They were told it'd be a musical. It was not. And again, I don't know
But
if that
100,000 people died, and it was really cool.
Well, 100,000 people didn't. I think 1 in
Almost
100,000 died. That event was a 1 in 100,000 fatality rate.
They
It's like,
got back more people because
they
of my
did.
generation
They
than
did actually.
go out.
It actually had
The
a
baby was
negative
born.
fatality rate. Have you ever actually seen the Hindenburg disaster?
A little bit, yeah.
I think like maybe 2 people died in that. Almost everybody survived the Hindenburg disaster, even though it looks like the most catastrophic thing that ever happened. It's just Zeppelins are actually quite safe. It gets points for Susan, but loses points for curing racism. Alex, my love, I'm getting some very troubling signs recently. I don't think you should support women's wrong, and I don't think curing racism is a bad thing. You know, maybe that's just my privilege, but that's my stance. That's my stance. God, I'm going to look bad if it's less than an 8. I've never done an 8 this season. It's got to be decimals.
That 7.9 is going to be important.
I can't live with 10% between episodes. I don't know. This is better than Joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than Lucky Day. It's the way it cured racism. See, look, I know the ends don't justify the means, but sometimes the ends are real good. You made the woman's wrong. Oh, you stole the woman's wrong joke. Okay. A joke I heard recently, just to put this off as long as possible, is an unnamed individual, an unnamed in the closet trans individual I am aware of, recently decided to keep the clothes from, I don't know what you'd call it, their birth sex. It's a dead name. I don't know if there's a term for that specifically, but the clothes for their birth sex. And someone else was like, well, why? Is it because you're still like in the closet with some people? And it was like, I'm not in the closet. I'm a double agent. And I was like, I like that one. What do you mean? That's brilliant. Probably took it from like online somewhere, but that's amazing. I was like, Alex, can I go in the closet again? Like, that's great. God. Okay. Let's just do exactly what we didn't for. You know what? Actually, is there one back here? 8 point. You know what? Dot and Bubble could be good. Was this basically Dot and Bubble? We had some nitpicks for Dot and Bubble, like how these slugs took over, the manner they did it. But it's got that scene at the end. You know, it's got a key scene.
True.
I might go with a Dot and Bubble. Better than 73 yards. I think we're in an 8. 8.3. It's gonna be around an 8.3. It might be an 8.2. No, you know what? I'm gonna go with 8.3. 8.3.
Feel good with that?
Yeah, you know what? I think I do. I think I'm gonna say this was good as Dot and Bubble. So we're above the fans. We're actually pretty consistently above the fans. Well, the general public. Oh, you know what I've been meaning to do to add to this? Is Reddit also does their own polls, and there's delays. I've got this on my phone. They do for r/Reddit and r/Gallifrey, the two like big Reddits, and they rank them. And they've done this since Rose, so they have loads of cool statistics. They do them the percentile for like how popular it was, but they also have the standard deviation for every episode, so they can see if that was a divisive opinion or not. I had a screenshot. There we go. So I could link it, and you can see like the whole era. How do I get to the link where I took a screenshot from the picture? You can do it. That's why I took a screenshot. Is there used to be a button that was like go.
Good question.
To website.
Not a clue.
And that's why I took a picture.
Can't you like right click and do open in new window or open image?
Well, it's on my phone.
Inconvenient.
Wait,
Got it.
Space Babies. I didn't take a picture. You can do this. Samsung recently updated their UI, though. Is it the I? No, that's Bixby. I don't want Bixby. Chat. How can you do... Did they remove this? That was an amazing feature. I've taken so many pictures
Sad
of
day.
links for that reason. Details? Oh, maybe it's a Google thing, and that's a DuckDuckGo screenshot. Got it. I think that's standard deviation because it's in like the 2s. Space Babies. But I love it. Doctor Who and r/Doctor Who and r/Gallifrey, by the way, largely agree, but Gallifrey is generally like 0.1 or 2 points lower. Because Gallifrey is like harder core fans, is how I describe it, and I find that hilarious. Going for what I assume is r/Doctor Who. Space Babies was 4.9. Devil's Cord, 6.6. Those were very unliked.
Oof.
Then you get 8.0 for Boom, 8.2 for 73 Yards. We're higher all the way so far. 7.7 for Dot and Bubble. We're lower. 7.4 for Rogue, which had a pretty low standard deviation. Dot and Bubble was actually a little more controversial. Legend of Ruby Sunday, 7.8, and then 5.4 for Empire of Death. Oof, that's way lower. Joy to the World. Bear in mind, Reddit is enjoying this season more than the last so far. 6.5 for Joy to the World. 6.7 for Robot Revolution. Lux is 7.8. The Well is 8.4, and that's all I have so far. I don't know. That doesn't seem ratings wise. We're approaching the finale, and I don't know if you've been doing about this, but at some point we're gonna rate the season, right?
That's true. I have been thinking about
I've
it.
really been grappling with the question: do I like this season more or less than the last one? I don't know if you've been trying to think this already, because I think this is gonna be a tough question.
I know my answer to that so far.
Oh, well, keep that under wraps.
Yeah,
I think the
but I've
finale is going to
been
be a
thinking about
big
that.
part. Because, of course, the botched finale last season is a big part of last season. And so I think this finale is going to be a big part. You know, there's a lot we're playing with, and there's a lot we could do very well, and we could also permanently destroy the character of Susan. So, you know, there's stakes.
Yeah, it's like I think I know how I feel, but
wait
the
a
finale
minute,
could
wait.
move me.
We by generated. Do I count that? Do I count the end credits? Do I count the end credits?
It's in the episode.
It deserves... That's harsh. That's a harsh. The harsh. And I would mean I have to use a round number.
They did by generate. It was a filthy one too. The Ronnie.
It was...
You gonna by generate the Ronnie? Why are you doing that?
They haven't explained it.
Are they gonna?
No. But, right?
8.2.
I'm going to bring us down a little bit.
They only get a
However,
0.05?
okay, what about this, right? Finale overall. This is a category we have so that we can rank part 1 as it stands. And then when part 2 like botches the setup or elevates it, we can rank the finale overall without having to worry about what is in part 2. Should we throw the whole by generation thing into that? Or maybe the season? I feel like I feel like by generation should be the fault of someone else, because it's not the fault of this episode.
I don't think so.
It's a
I think it is.
mandate from
I think
above.
it is. It's in the episode.
I think it's a
happened.
very small part of the episode, but it's a massive problem for like everything that's not this episode, and so I think is gonna get a little bit get a little bonked. But we'll see. Maybe the fact the by generation is unexplained is worse. Maybe like the plot requires the by generation, and so it was a beyond comprehension coincidence, and you know that'd make it worse, right? that just would. That'd make it worse. Something that was so rare it was considered a myth. But yeah, and that's gone wrong.
Well, something always seems to.
Why am I dividing by 8? That's the average, but we're only counting the finale. All right. I'm just going to move that aside and say, fix this. I'll know what it means.
You're not going to know what that means.
Our averages are getting better because now that we're only missing like one episode. Really? Give this a 10. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's not a... I'm not hopeful for our averages, but like... all of our averages are distinctly in the mid. I mean, right now my average is higher than it was last season. 7.17. Wait, the finale brings the average up? Oh. But I mean, across the board, we're a bit mid. You know? Where you're a little up there, but this isn't like stellar.
Mm-hmm.
This is a needs improvement. I think I asked the question last night to myself. Do I enjoy watching the individual episodes more than last season? And as a sneak peek, I think the answer is no. But do I enjoy watching the individual episodes less than last season? That's where the tricky part is. And I think the finales are coming. Because I really don't know. I might even like it more, like it less, but still give it an 8. I don't know. Our big thing was, well, at least for you and me, is that this was a collection of generally very good episodes. Like, more than half of these episodes, I think we considered very good. And, like, they would be standout in other seasons. Maybe not the best of, like, you know, not Blink, but they're still standout episodes of the season.
Yeah.
I've got that for Lux. But I think we also said, if that's all we get moving forward, this 8 is going to progressively go down more and more every year. And we don't have that. We've got the thing with Belinda, which is like so small. I would probably, if you told me that's like the season thing, I'd say that's not going to change anything. But it weirdly does. I don't know. Maybe it's Belinda's just better, despite complaints how I think she is still a little too close to the doctor, especially for the situation. I think she should have been a bigger deal that, you know, the doctor tortured a guy and then called it his, like, rise to glory or whatever. And she was joking about, like, I give you what I think is French for 2 points, maybe 20. I don't know how Eurovision is scored. It sounded weird. But I assume it's good. I'm like, you did try and torture a guy, though, you know? Not even, you did torture. You're like, what if I do this 3 trillion times, you know?
Yeah.
He'd probably die well before then. You think you know, but
yeah,
you think you got definitely a number, like, right? Not is it provisional? Like, obviously, the finale's kind of big.
I don't have a set number, but I know in which direction, whether more or less.
Here's the thing. Last season really built up Ruby's mom, right? And so that was like the resolution. I think this one is much more just a normal episode of Doctor Who we're going into. Like, the Ronnie's here. Susan's here. But if the next 2 episodes are horrible, you know, as long as they don't, like, do some horrible canon thing to Susan, or even the Ronnie for that matter, like, established by generation is just the new norm. It just ends up being like another bad finale on a season that most people think is good. And so I don't think a bad finale, a catastrophic finale even, would really hurt this season as much as it did season 1.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll still be left having just watched a horrible finale and being asked to rank the episode. Maybe I should give Lux another go. But I think what sticks out about me when I think of a lot of these episodes are the nitpicks. I think my theme for this season might be like the 1,000 cuts that didn't necessarily ruin stuff. But Miss Lux is a meme now, so we got that going for us.
I think they could definitely bin it really bad, but the set of episodes that we do have,
they won't make Lux worse by nuking it. But
Yeah,
last season, like, made the Devil's Cord worse because there's like a whole scene that just doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of scenes in older episodes. I've heard as well from people who go through watching this season now as an exercise, and well, that doesn't make sense. Like, that goes nowhere. It's like, I think I heard someone who was like watching it with a girlfriend or something who had never seen the show before, and they're not really saying anything for the girlfriend because, you know, that they're watching the show for the first time. You're not gonna ruin that. But they're like watching the Devil's Cord or the scenes in church. They're like, oh man, that really went nowhere. It's like, and they watch them kind of get excited and interested. And they're like, man, this doesn't go anywhere. I guess we might have some of that with Miss Flood, but that's also last season, so who cares? We can't ruin this season. I don't know. We got an interesting. I think too much about Doctor Who, and I've slowed down on the books too. I really have. I've got to the Paul Cornell one, the last one in Time Warp. Paul Cornell, he's the guy who wrote Father's Day and Family of Blood. He actually remember Human Nature is a Virgin New Adventures book, right? I love what he's done here, and generally it's like, you know, if it's written by Paul Cornell, it's a good one, and I think I like the story. But I am not gelling with the style it's written in. And I'm a little worried that Paul Cornell is going to become like the problem writer, where when it's written by him, I might struggle a bit. But I'm like, it's very like you don't know what's going on, mystery. There's timey shenanigans. I don't want to spoil it for people who might be interested. But it's very well regarded. I'll say that. Like, I know what's happening. I'm not confused by the plot. But a lot of the style it's written is just one that I'm not gelling with. It's very...
Yeah. Not your cup of tea.
It's going to sound like I want everything spoon-fed, but it's kind of like a lot of things are written in a way that's not explained. Kind of written... I can't explain it, but it's just a style. I'm like, I feel I'd be writing this story, enjoying this story 3 times as much as if it was more direct. But as we all know, that fandoms, especially Doctor Who fandoms, are just wrong about their opinions.
Right.
So maybe they're just wrong about these too. And I'm like, I can't imagine Human Nature, having seen the episode, being written like this.
Yeah.
It feels like the style of the book it's written. I found he's not going to be a totally different writer. But I've also heard that Human Nature is like for being an adaptation of the story, a fairly different story in the books than... But, I mean, it's still Human Nature. Yeah. But, like, I've heard the Doctor's got a cat. That's probably pretty meaningful.
Ooh.
That's not
exciting.
I'm sure that's not the difference. Obviously the racism angle isn't there because Bernice Summerfield is white, but I don't know. I've got Cat's Cradle. I'm looking at it now. I'm approaching when the books are going to get cheaper. I've got one more semi-pricey, then one like $20 book that introduces Bernice Summerfield, and then they're like $5 on a Doctor Who store for a while. So that's nice. I'm looking forward. I can get like, I think 60% of the series for like $5 to $10 on a store.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
The problem is the first 10. Don't get me wrong. They're still like, for old books, they're pretty reasonably priced. There's like 2, I think, in each of the series that have been a lot. But still, I think we're talking like $40 to $60 for a book, which is a lot for a book, but it's not like $250.
Yeah,
which is what like what's it called, Lung Barrow costs, because that's like a big, and the last one I think is also like $180 is the cheapest I've seen it for. But those are the only 2. Usually like it's like this one's $20 max, which is like a little expensive. But for what it is, like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, comparatively.
That's good. Like, man, I'd buy a book for $20. Like, Judging for inflation, the book probably cost like $15-20. But also, I can buy a lot of them from Canadians. And I've got a lot of great deals on the Canadian dollar exchange rate. And that's probably gone away because of tariffs. I had a seller I recently found that did like cardigans and stuff. It was really... I'll promote him. Heck, Knock Thrice. Very good. I found a lot of cool like cottagecore stuff. I got this amazing like hand-done like cardigan thing. I should show you. It's cool. For like $70. It was on sale. Which for what it is outstanding.
Yeah.
And then they stopped shipping to the U.S. for a bit the day after I got that because of the tariffs. And now the tariffs have come back and it's $84. I'm like, man, now it's outstanding, but you've just canceled out the Canadian exchange rate. I'm like, that's what you've done here. But no, that was a really cool place I found.
20.
Yeah. I have ranked the episode. I keep thinking I got to do it.
We've got one more little formality.
Gray 3, Wish World. Yeah, there you go. So I should have spoiled it. Spoiler warning. Which could be a 90 out of 10. I could theorize, but it's mostly based off the name of the next episode, which I've known about for ages. The Ronnie's Revenge. No, it's not. It's not. No, the name doesn't give away what it is. But
because you're leakers.
No, I mean, the leakers know. Yes.
Right.
As I understand it, the leakers just know. I knew that Miss Flood was the Ronnie and Sheep Eye Generates. That was the big thing I've talked about, where like I forgot there were leaks, and so I didn't treat.
Well, you're inside leakers who have
infiltrated
the BBC and the
BBC,
national security.
The British Crown, the Bad Wolf, everything. Oh yes, I definitely remembered my leakers and was prepared to tell you all about Wish World. What do you think Wish World is? First.
What do I think Wish World is?
As a casual, like I think theorizing is more fun than knowing, so I'd like you to
as a casual
theorize.
I don't have any leakers myself, but I do know this guy because your top leaker, whose name is obviously
unnamed.
Unnamed. I am
he will be unnamed, but it was a weird name, unnamed.
I'm close with their sibling, who will also remain unnamed.
Anonymous.
And
right?
Anonymous. Yeah. Unnamed and anonymous. And they don't get all the details, but like I get the game of telephone, and so they tell me, and so usually it's like half correct.
Yeah.
In Wish World.
And of course there's some rewrites. Some of the details have gotten adjusted from when I got the leaks.
Yeah. It's obviously the world's largest fountain. And the Doctor, between last episode and now, the TARDIS had been transported by the Ronnie into the fountain. And so the thing is, the Wish World is under distress and duress because massive cosmic beings, the gods, have gathered around the fountain because they're going on a picnic. And they're chucking in all of their lucky day coins. That's when Conrad's going to come back because he has a very lucky coin into the fountain, and they're falling upon the entire Wish World. And
the world is the fountain. I see. It's like at the bottom.
Yeah, they're at the bottom, and so all these massive coins are falling on everything and destroying everything. And the Doctor needs to help them with that.
Man,
and somehow there's babies involved from space.
Yeah, space bait doing the can on the sides. That's why it's like making it rain, but it's with coins for the performance in a very unsuggestive manner, because of course they are babies.
Absolutely.
Time Lord babies, of course.
Yes,
doing the
very
can
respectful manner.
Which it does have origins, as I understand, in, somewhat risque French establishments. But it's tasteful here, so it's okay. But you're spot on, of course. That is the first 5 minutes of Wish World. Because, of course, Wish World is co-written by someone else who has a lisp. They're actually the actor, too, the main villain. The new Ronnie has a lisp, it just didn't articulate yet. And of course, it's Witch World, which comes across as like Wish World.
Yeah.
And so to be respectful to the people with lisps, they incorporated the lisp into, like the subtitles in the episode. Because that sounds like, honest, something Russell T Davies would do. But they're trying to get to Earth. Like, that's the whole point, clearly. We're going back to Earth, right?
Yeah.
But they got a bit lost. And so we talked about how a lot of the other episodes have been slow. This is not. Bam, 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 bam. This is New Worlds, and there are like references. And there's the one where like Susan is too. And so, of course, Susan had like a flow regulator in her pocket when the doctor left her with one shoe. And so she trades the shoe for the flow regulator, and they go back. And
right. See, this is where the game of telephone comes in, because I had heard a similar thing, but it must have got confused through translation, because, the slurring of the words was there, but my source, Anonymous, just said that Ronnie was going to get super intoxicated and drunk in the episode.
You know what? I think I actually did get an amendum where they realized that the lisp was really offensive, and so they rewrote it to just be very drunk, which was a good call. I forgot about that. Yeah. And it's got
I can't wait to see this unfold.
The space babies might not even be there. It's left ambiguous. It might just be a drunken. Like, Belinda was also drunk. You don't know what she did with that cop, how she got away in Lagos or whatever. It was why did we have that scene? It just didn't go anyway. It was just an arbitrary delay, and like you didn't. That was a cop, right? I'm just whatever. But yeah, it could be a 90 out of 10.
Yeah.
And if both, of course, if both episodes have the Space Baby can, it's a 10,007.
10,007, yeah.
Yeah. Which will really do wonders for the averages.
Absolutely.
By the way, this column is what IMDb says after the finale, if I recall. So yeah, I don't know. I have some speculations based off of filming schedules. If you know, you know. For the finale. So we could go into that if you really wanted to, because they could probably be totally proven wrong in the next one. Do you want to go into that? Because it's...
I don't know. I've been enjoying spoiler-free.
I mean, there's nothing about the content. It might be intriguing, but it's up to you, I guess. I don't have to do it. It's just if I'm right, I'm going to feel real robbed.
Just give me a little taste. Give me a little lick.
All right, so if you don't want to know this, leave now. This is the last thing we're doing. A few months ago, I believe it's months, they did some reshoots for Doctor Who for the finale episode. As we know, it's for the finale episode, and they did apparently a good amount of reshoots. It wasn't like an inconsequential thing, which is pretty unusual for this close to broadcast. And it could be anything, right? It could be, man, this special effect really doesn't work. Maybe they realized that the alien CGI looks kind of like blackface, and they're like, oh no. It could be inconsequential. The running fan speculation, which I do not agree with, but what fans have jumped onto, because there's a lot of doom and gloom on the Reddits of like the show being canceled and everything, which is the Mirror has just pointed out is not the expectation within the people making Doctor Who, is that they had to reshoot an unexpected regeneration for Ncuti Gatwa, is one of the running things. I don't believe that. Another one is either the companion left or has now decided to leave, and so they had to redo the ending. Come to think of it, it could be something with the Ronnie, where someone has decided to stay or leave, and they've had to change the ending. But my thinking, right, I wonder if it's Susan who is next season, right? But next season is now so far away, either Carol Ann Ford can no longer commit to it, or they're worried about possible things. It'd be kind of icky to fire someone because of, like, you're old, you might die.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe they filmed a regeneration for Susan in case something happens to Carol Ann Ford. Because Bernard Cribbins was supposed to be a big part of the 60th, but he got too ill just before he died to do anything more than, like, the one scene he did. In like a wheelchair. He died very soon after filming that. So I wonder if they had to refilm something for Susan because of how long it's been. And maybe it's something they'll keep in the bag. It's like, we'll use Carol Ann Ford, but if it takes 3 years to make the next season, we have to explain why Carol Ann Ford isn't Susan if she can't do it for some reason. So that's kind of my little bit. But apparently Reality World had big reshoots, which I can't wait to relearn is because the CGI needed redone. Something so inconsequential. I don't think it's a regeneration. I think we'd know. I think they'd announced 16. I guess the argument is that we don't have a 16 yet. Ncuti Gatwa is very busy. He's in demand. I don't see why it's so far out. They'd be like, hey, Ncuti, do what we did last time. Let's record 2 seasons, and then you can have a year off. I would be very surprised if Ncuti Gatwa regenerates. I'd be disappointed too, but it could just be Belinda decided to keep going, or is hey, we don't know when this is going to film. I've got to leave. I can't commit like this.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And also, if Ncuti Gatwa left Doctor Who, I feel like he'd be announced for something else by this point.
That's
you know,
true.
he's like, I'm doing this thing. I'm already signed on. So, yeah, apparently the finale had reshoots. And my theory is I wonder if it's a backup in case Carol Ann Ford becomes unavailable. Which, doesn't mean dies. But, she might become too sick. Or maybe they just never... Maybe they're actually Russell T Davies paranoid. This might never happen. I've got to end this story, and I can pick up it. Maybe he's done something like that. Let's pick up, or
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or again, the boom mic was in shot, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see. Maybe the story just sucked, and he rewrote it to not suck.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that. But that's the only other thing I know about this season, other than the name of the last episode. Yeah. Susan and the Ronnie kiss. It's a weird name, but it makes sense now. If Susan was not leaked, shout outs on that, by the way. But I think Susan's not this season because her only scenes so far have been in the TARDIS, and I feel I would know. I would know at the very least that someone big was coming back. That would have made its way to me. That would have been on the wind, and it wasn't. So I think they haven't filmed anything with her off of a closed set, like Wild Blue Yonder we knew nothing about. So maybe she's just only ever on closed sets, and she's not in the open. But I don't know. In the finale, I don't know. But hey, if we get another season with Evelyn is a big Finnish companion who is an older woman. She's a history teacher. Might even be close to retirement age, if not retirement age. She's great. She's great with the Sixth Doctor, and that's a dynamic the TV has never had, is an elderly companion.
Yeah.
Middle age is the oldest we've really gotten. But Evelyn's great, even on Big Finish. I think Evelyn's fairly unique in being elderly. And the fact that it's Susan, I think we could do cool stuff. There's so much story potential with Susan. No one wants her back because of how her character was, which was bad in the 60s through no fault of her own. She'll be the first to tell you. But it's because there's so much storytelling potential with Susan. And I don't even mind if it's a regeneration. We bring Carol Ann Ford to do the regeneration. But I would I could see a young Susan that can actually do, be super physically capable, be what Susan should have been as the next companion. I would love that. And heck, there's your alien. There's your alien, weird, different, and the fan base would rejoice. We'd praise the roof. And if the show gets canceled, we would bemoan everything. We'd have a new Virgin New Adventures. They'd hire, the Chad New Adventures to do Susan and the Doctor. And 15 would become this secret god-fighting sociopath. And then it'd be a repeat of the past. And then they'd get Russell T Davies to reboot the show in 20 years. After a failed American movie. With another great Doctor, just not on the movie. Yeah. What are we gonna do? It's 2 years till the next season. So by season 4, we'll have probably finished the watch along. You know, we gotta keep you around. We gotta just watch the TV movie on loop. We gonna go through some of the classics, maybe? Like
On loop.
we got it on loop, yeah. I feel like we might have to do 15 again, but we wouldn't do all of it.
The highlights.
Well, like, we might stop at season 1. It depends how recently it's been. We might do season 2.
True.
It'd be interesting with Miss Flood and, like, doing a retrospective knowing what happens. Because I would be surprised if I watch this era again, beyond maybe, like, Lux or something, in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think 3 years is what it would take us to do all of Doctor Who without stopping for the spin-offs. But hey, maybe we do Land in the Sea. I'm probably down for that. I don't know. I think we've both been kind of like, eh.
Yeah. Time will tell.
I think I've said I probably will watch it and then decide if I do it. But if it's going to be 2 years till we do we do watch-alongs. I don't know. I'll watch War Between Land and the Sea. I'm sure, unless it's like unbelievably bad in the first few episodes. I'm gonna watch it. I might not buy it till episode 3 though, because then I only have to pay for 1 month. But maybe trailers are good. Maybe fans will say it's good. It could be really good. I just have no interest in it inherently. And also, Christmas is probably canceled. There's no Christmas special on the books. Yeah, there's no Christmas special on the books right now. Ncuti Gatwa is busy, like, through September, I think, on some play or something. So we couldn't get him. There's a world where there's a Christmas special shot over, like, 2 months. Well, do you know the original plan for the 50th? The only person contractually obliged to show up was the companion Clara. And there is a very real world with scripts partially written where the only person for Doctor Who's 50th anniversary is Clara, and the Doctor is not in it.
I don't know. It could have been cool.
God, well, I think the plan was that the Doctor would be splintered through, like, it was bad. You can read the summary. And Moffat was like, this is bad. It was hell writing it. But he did get Matt Smith and then some other people to sign on for the 50th. It was saved. But, like, if the BBC wants to, right? You could turn around a Christmas special in, like, 2.5 months.
Yeah.
I don't know if the BBC wants to that badly, especially if they might not even have an international distributor. I mean, the 60ths were turned around very quickly. It is entirely possible, but it'd be rough. And I think Christmas might be canceled, Caden.
Oh.
I think that it's when we introduced Chris Chibnall is the man who canceled Christmas. We're going to have to be saying that a lot in our watch-alongs pretty soon with Davies. But hopefully we're mistaken, because the 15th Doctor has been the best in, like, every Christmas episode he's had. So, and of course I'd be ruined. I'd be devastated if Christmas was canceled, because then what's the point? What is even the point, dare I ask, of having Christmas?
That's true.
That's true.
That the Doctor Who Christmas special decides how good Christmas will be.
It does, and without it, there's just no Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I think they said in Joy to the World. There was Jesus in it, so I think so. Shall we wrap it up after 3 whole hours of talking about Susan? Which, by the way, yes, we know who it is. And they're credited in the credits, right? They say grandfather. But this is the 3rd time we have a mysterious old woman appearing.
That is true. Maybe that'll be next season's canon. We don't need Ncuti to cry. We just need an old woman.
Any old woman at the start of whatever the next episode is for season 3, I'm going to be deeply suspicious of. And, like, also disappointed. We can't have any old women for a while. And then it's still an old woman who's the bad guy. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. I'd say I'm excited for the finale, but I'm not allowed to be, because if I'm excited, it won't be good.
I have hope. I
do potentially think it could be a 90 out of 10, but I don't have high hopes.
It's on the table, yeah.
I mean, Legend of Ruby Sunday was good without the next part, but this isn't set up. Like, we're going straight in, you know?
Oh, yeah.
There'll probably be a bit of at least exposition, if not setup.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still got to be a cliffhanger. I guess the actual destruction of Earth might be the cliffhanger, but that was literally last time's cliffhanger. I don't know. We'll see. No TARDISes, though. Actually, what score are you going to give it if there's any other TARDIS room? Do you want to do something like that?
Nah, because if there's another TARDIS room, I'd be mad at them. Why would they do it again? You've already done that. What do I need in this finale? That's the question. If I get an inner TARDIS room.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, I thought you meant like new TARDIS,
no, that
if there's a new
set is still standing. That's the TARDIS.
If there's the costume room,
specifically the wardrobe. I can't see the wardrobe looking good though. It's just gonna be a closet with a bunch of random clothes.
It's gonna be
those
so
walls.
great.
Yeah,
I'd give that a 56.
A 56 out of 10.
Yeah.
For both of them, either or.
Not because if they do it in both, if the first episode is like a one take, one set, just the inside of the TARDIS, that's my 90. That's my 90.
That's your 90. All right,
yeah.
And that's where you could have Susan and no one knows.
Yeah, and if they get out and then there's a good finale, that's my 56.
That's your 56.
Overall, if those two things happen, I'd say maybe a 9.
Good. Brilliant. I like it. Best joke we've had all stream. The thing is, I want more TARDIS rooms, right? But I think what I want from TARDIS rooms, 15's TARDIS cannot deliver without being fundamentally different in every other room. Because the classic TARDIS did this too, where you see others' rooms. Doctor Who, let's go Nyssa bedroom. And let's hope that the results are what I hope they are, and not fan art. Good. However, the first art, she is wearing the Terminus outfit. That makes sense. Well, here you go. It's like, the TARDIS wall style, but it's a bedroom, right? And this kind of works. It's not the most homely. I actually think I have this bed in the kids' room from my grandmother. I actually think I have that bed. But like, I said this is a good shot actually. It's just like a room, right? That happens to have TARDIS walls. Mm-hmm. Do you want the original going into the TARDIS? Oh, this is nice. Oh, I like this one. Adric's room?
Looks like someone's bedroom.
It is. It's Adric's bedroom. That's the point. They live here. Is this a TARDIS? I don't think this is the TARDIS. I don't think so. But, oh yeah, no, that's not the TARDIS. That's Black Orchid. But, with this TARDIS, it's so many lights. That's not... I don't see a room really working, and like maybe I can be surprised. And you know what? I bet you probably could pull it off if you were like an interior designer. But I don't. Mm-hmm. It's a TARDIS that is built specifically to not be a home, because Russell T Davies has said in the past in his original run, maybe his opinion has changed in the past 20 years, but he wants the TARDIS to be a vehicle that gets you from adventure A to adventure B and nothing more, which is the lamest take. But that's just the kind of guy Russell is. He's a weird fan who managed to make an amazing era of the show, despite his frankly unorthodox opinions as a Doctor Who fan. But no one can deny him that he is a Doctor Who fan. Like, all Moffat, Chibnall, and Davies all are.
Mm. That'll be me.
Go. But that'll be you one day.
Yeah, weird fan.
Which one?
Who somehow falls into the shoes.
That would be me. If I was a good writer, no one would like my opinions. I hope they'd like the episodes, but like they would think all my opinions on Doctor Who, what episodes are good or not, are just bad. And I'd want to be the kind of showrunner that people can't fathom how I write Doctor Who that good, given all of my opinions. Which honestly is the original Russell T Davies. I cannot fathom how he writes Doctor Who like that, given his beliefs as both a writer and a fan.
Yeah.
But you know what? He does. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. Prove to the world that actually Pyramids of Mars is not that good, and etc. And that anti-war speech is bad. And yeah, all that stuff. I'd do it. I'd promote the show by getting up on there, and I'd make it a bit in Unleashed, which, by the way, they have been releasing those free on YouTube, I'd have a segment where I give a hot take about Doctor Who. I think the Sixth Doctor's Code is good, you know? That'd be the segment. No. And I just want that audience. That's why I do YouTube. So I just want people to hear these reasonable opinions for once, and maybe they'll realize what being intelligent means. Wow.
Show them the way.
Sometimes I do those jokes, like, you know, being snobby, whatever, for the joke of it, and then sometimes it's like, that came out a bit far. But of course, it's beautiful. They are the correct takes.
Of course.
Because the people who agree with me are like, finally. There's a guy on r/Gallifrey, a 0 Sense Made, who's reviewed like all the classics doing the modern. I love his reviews because he gets to episodes like Pyramids of Mars, and the first line of that review is, I don't get it. And it's like the first reviewer I've get, and I see him review the new ones too. I'm generally like, where's 0 Sense Made's opinion? Because where's the one that am I totally insane, or are there people who agree with me? Because I'm generally on base with that person. And I'm like, yeah, no. And I'm like, I'm shocked when he gets to some of the big episodes. Like, yeah, I don't see it. I'm like, thank you. Finally. Someone who doesn't. The 4 wires thing was resolved in that story. Get over it. 4 wires? This isn't. There are 4 light. No, this is the 2 wires. Thank you all for watching. You just want to go. Thank you all. He has time for this. Run. He hasn't been able to do gaming with our other brother for like a month and a half.
It's true. I've been busy. But this Doctor Who time, it's an important time that's set aside every Sunday.
More important than family, which we specifically say is Friday or Saturday, that gaming night. It is a time. Thank you all very much for watching.